Tokaram. Oh my gosh.
Okay, my family's from Nablus.
Oh yeah. Well, half of our families from there.
Yeah.
What's your last name?
Hashem.
What's your surname?
Bustami.
Sami? Wow. Wow. And when did your family move to America? So I was born in Dallas, Texas. I'm from San Antonio.
Yeah. How do we solve this mess we're in, right?
That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
This is why we have people coming up. We want to have people come up to us and ask us questions, talk about whatever they want.
Yeah, that's the basic premise.
You want to talk about Atidna a little bit?
Sure. So we're a student organization here on campus. We bring together Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians to solidify that we're one family, we're cousins, and we're not inherent enemies.
Yeah.
And also to bring together both sides to have a dialogue about anything and everything pertaining to Israel and Palestine. That's our basic premise.
Right.
Yeah.
How long have you been around?
Roughly 2 years, yeah. This is our 2 years.
Founded by Elijah over here.
Yeah.
Oh, you founded it? Okay.
I founded it. Jad's currently VP. I'm president. But
Are there other branches and other campuses?
Yeah,
we do.
We have some at UPenn. We got one coming up at U Chicago. We have a branch at Harvard. So,
Columbia soon.
Yes, Columbia soon.
U Chicago, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have we got a few branches.
No,
Yeah.
I love the idea.
Yeah. Shukran, habibi. Means a lot. Yeah.
So I have Israeli friends too. At work we had a team in Haifa.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it was outside Tel Aviv in Herzliya.
Wow.
Okay.
So I've never been to, West Bank.
Oh, you never been to West Bank?
Oh, okay.
Until so I was born in Kuwait.
Sure.
Came
Yeah.
to the US.
Yeah.
Worked here, and then I was part of this company that had a team in
Wow.
Tel Aviv.
Gave you a
So
good
I-
reason to see your ancestral land over here. Yeah.
So it was amazing. I went to Jerusalem.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So I made a lot of friends that
Yeah.
were Jews, Jewish, Israelis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you nervous the first time you got to speak with
Interact
Israeli
them?
Jews? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
A
Yeah,
little nervous?
But we and they were also apprehensive.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we kind of got to build a.
That's why we build bridges. These grassroots
Relationship,
interactions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, did you get to see Tolkerem?
No, I didn't go there. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't go there. But
Yeah.
one of my friends, his name is Eitan Weisberger.
Yes.
He was assigned in Austin for a while.
Sure.
He's actually based in a village outside of Tulkarem on the 1948 side.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So he kind of quit, and he has a little farm there.
Sure.
Got chicken.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but he has Israeli citizenship. He's Philistine.
Yeah. So he invited me over, and I went
Yeah.
to his house. And his mom was there, and they had like a room full of people. They were singing Jewish,
that's beautiful.
songs.
Yeah.
For the meal.
Yeah.
Traditional.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Would you feel nervous going back in the current situation with the current government, with the current manifestation after October 7th
Probably,
in
yeah.
Israel?
I would probably be. So my mom is in Amman, Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
After Kuwait, after the Gulf War, to
Sure.
Amman.
Sure.
So Amman seems to be safe. Actually, my mom is going to come next week because my girls are graduating from high school.
Wow. Mabruk. Mabruk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna,
That's fantastic. And so after the Nakba, your family went immediately to Kuwait, or did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So Kuwait was being built. The whole Persian Gulf area was being built up.
Sure. Yeah.
Oil was just discovered. They needed manpower.
Of course.
Human power.
Yeah.
And so they were looking for teachers, engineers.
Yeah.
So it was like 300,000 Palestinians that lived in Kuwait.
Sure. It's a huge amount. I mean, the Queen of Jordan, she's Palestinian from Kuwait. Yeah.
Same story.
Absolutely.
So then I was in UT as a senior when Saddam took over Kuwait.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Interesting.
So
Okay.
wow. Interesting stories.
Yes,
on that.
because you're Palestinian, but then most PLO was pro-Saddam, so there's a lot of different confluence. Yeah, it must have been tough for you. Yeah,
Palestinians were kind of on the side of Saddam because Saddam said, "Hey, I'm going to fight for the Palestinians."
of course. Yeah,
So it was a very.
he's the one firing scuds at Israel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can imagine it must have
But
been really
UT
tough.
actually did a good job. They helped me. I think I can't remember the details, but I think I got to pay in-state tuition.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's so amazing. Yeah.
And they interviewed me on the KUT. I don't know if it's the same channel.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's KXAN now, but yeah. Wow.
I kept saying, hey, because the interview is like, okay, you're Kuwait. I said, no, I'm a Palestinian.
Palestinian from
Very
Kuwait.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta.
Can we join the conversation?
Yeah, 100%. What's your name?
Jason.
Jason?
Itai, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jad.
Elijah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you can sit right here. I'll move over.
Yeah.
I know we're just
Is this, like,
figuring this
filmed
out.
or what?
There's some people doing media stuff, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you do have media, that's
100%.
right.
Yeah.
So where are you guys from?
I'm from San Antonio originally. Yeah.
I'm from Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in Dallas.
Well, so I was born in downtown Dallas.
Okay,
Are you from DFW?
Yeah, I'm from Frisco.
Oh, from Frisco. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm actually closer to Fort Worth, though. Really, I'm from Tarrant County, really. So, but yeah, I have tons of family in Frisco and the Plano area and everything.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Independence High School. There's so
Oh,
many
where?
Frisco high schools. It's
Oh,
like hard
okay,
to
because
keep
most of my
track.
family went to Frisco ISD.
Yeah,
So
Frisco ISD.
Oh, okay.
Independence is one of those Frisco ISD.
Oh, okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
And are either of you Israeli or you're both?
I'm Israeli.
I'm not Israeli.
You're not Israeli. Okay, we're in Israel.
Ramat Gan, mostly Haifa,
Haifa?
everywhere. Like my family's scattered
Yeah.
all over.
Got you.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
you.
It's not
Okay.
just one space.
You were born in the U.S. though. Born
Yeah,
in.
I'm American citizen. I'm
Okay.
a dual citizen.
אתה יכול לדבר עברית או לא?
Yeah.
וואו, וואו.
Were you born in Dallas, the area?
I
or-
was born in San Diego.
Oh, San
Yeah.
Diego. Why your family just
San
moved?
Diego to New Jersey to Texas. I don't know.
Really?
Israelis like to go spread out. So
I was gonna say.
they tried it all. They wanted East Coast, West Coast.
Landed here.
How often do you get to speak to a Palestinian?
right.
I would say last week I spoke to a Palestinian.
Really?
I went to Israel on a
Okay.
trip
Okay.
called Perspectives with
Sure.
Hillel.
Yeah.
And we had Palestinian speakers that came
Wow,
and
wow,
spoke
wow.
to us.
That's fantastic.
So not usually.
Yeah,
It just happens
yeah,
to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
just happens to be that last week.
Did you have any questions that you're yearning to ask them as an Israeli or? No.
I kind of think this last trip cleared a lot of things up, and it kind of made me realize that I've become very pessimistic. I used to be more optimistic about the situation. Now I
Sure.
just kind of just like very pessimistic.
Sure.
And I'm more worried about this event. You know, we'll see how it goes. I feel like
Right.
we do a good job of trying to show that we care.
Yeah.
And an event like this run by Palestinians would also be nice, but they wouldn't do that.
You mean
They would have to
like a Palestine block
yeah,
party?
They
Yeah.
would protest ours.
Yeah.
And that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
shows, it kind of represents what's going on. Like, I think Israel a little bit tries to show in some ways that we're looking, like we want a better way.
Sure.
And if we were talking to maybe a Nelson Mandela figure or like a MLK figure instead of Hamas, maybe there would be progress. And I think even if these people, the Palestinian protesters,
Sure.
if they were running Gaza, there would be peace. Because they are more pro-life
Yeah, I
than those
agree.
people in
Gotcha.
Palestine.
Yeah,
Or
that's
at least
fair.
Hamas.
So would you also say, just to play devil's advocate, would you say the current Israeli government really has these interests in mind to extend their hand for peace with figures like
I
Itamar
don't know
Ben-Gvir,
about the
Smotrich?
government, but the majority of the population.
The population.
yes.
I would say that's fair. I feel
That's
like
fair. I
the
agree
average
with
person on
that.
the ground does want peace. They do not want to see each other die. Yeah. I'd
And
say
that's
that's
how
very
it
fair.
should be. I mean, it's common sense. Like, who wants
Yeah.
your grandkids to die? It's just
Yeah.
it depends how many people are willing in Gaza and in Israel to keep fighting this war and have your grandchildren potentially fight this war.
Yeah.
And if they're ready for that,
Yeah.
then
So
they're ready for that.
I have a question for both of you. The Palestinian people, what relationship do you think the Jewish people have with the Palestinian people? If you had to define the Palestinian people, what would you say they are to us?
That's a good question.
Okay, I think the relations are that we're like cousins.
Very-
Right? We're from the
perfect.
same
Like,
place.
you just hit it on the
Yeah.
nail.
We're
We're about
the
to
same-
say something
Perfect.
like
We're the
this.
same family. Like
Achi,
the
Yofi.
culture is the same.
The culture is the most
The
similar
hot
to any other
tea,
people.
The tea, but we don't like to admit it, and neither do they.
No one likes to admit.
Absolutely.
It's the same. It's the same people. My grandpa was born in Tel Aviv, 1938.
Wow, so an earlier
that's 10
Aliyah.
years-
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
He was there, and my grandpa was born. So we're like,
Yeah.
I'm like half Ashkenazi, half Moroccan.
Okay.
half
Oh,
Levantine.
okay.
Half Greek, Turkish.
I was gonna
half
say,
But
Ashkenazi.
I look just white. Like, I just
Yeah,
look
yeah,
white.
sorry.
a
I
lot
thought you were
of
just Ashkenazi.
It's
I'm
so
sorry.
problematic. It just
I
falls
getcha.
in the narrative. I'm like, shit, I just need some tan.
Yeah.
But my grandpa was in Tel Aviv,
Yeah.
and then he went to Morocco, got kicked out of Morocco, and then came back.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
But I think the cultures are very similar. And
Yeah,
people don't
for
like
sure.
to admit it. The music, the way we speak, the aggressiveness. It's the
Absolutely.
Same thing.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll talk about kind of why we're here. So we're part of an organization. You guys both go to UT?
Yeah.
Okay. What grade are you
I'm a
guys?
junior.
You're junior?
I'm a junior as well.
Junior. Okay, nice. So Elijah and I, we are the president and vice president
Yeah.
of an organization called Atidna International.
Okay.
Sorry, Jad, do the talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, usually he does the pitch, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna be rusty with this.
Yeah.
You can let him do it in a moment.
So we,
Just- yeah.
yeah, I gotcha. So
Is it right here? Does it say right?
Yeah, Atidna
that's, I
International.
think that's our Instagram,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Our handle.
Put this
Yeah,
in your
it's
pocket,
nice.
hide the cable.
Yeah, so Atidna was founded 2022, so before anything recent had happened. It was founded by Elijah, actually. I had just joined this past year,
Yeah.
still before October 7th and everything. And the basic mission with Atidna was to basically solidify
When did it start? Sorry.
about
2022. Yeah.
fall of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
so-
that last year or the year before?
Year before. Yeah. It's around 2 years
a year
old.
and a half ago
Yeah.
about. And so Atidna, so we take the Hebrew word Atid and the Arabic suffix na to say our future.
Okay.
And in doing so, we want to solidify mostly Palestinians and Israelis, also Arabs and Jews, as brothers, as cousins, and not inherent enemies. And the reason we do that is, of course, because we believe that to find some sort of solution down the road, since both people have had so much trauma over the past, my family being Palestinian, Elijah's family is Jewish.
Yeah.
Elijah and I never had an issue with one another because of our identities, and we hope to continue that initiative for other people.
Yeah.
And so with Atidna, what we essentially are doing is trying to have difficult conversations, and also hosting peace events. So on November 7th, of course, a month after October 7th, we hosted one of the only joint vigils on a college campus in the entire United States.
To honor all innocents.
We did that
Israelis and Palestinians.
at the UT Tower
really cool.
to honor both Israeli and Palestinian victims.
How was the turnout?
We got 80 people.
About
That's
80
a good
people.
amount. Yeah.
We also had religious figures.
Yeah, we had an imam, we had a rabbi, we had a priest. Everyone spoke to this.
Yeah, and so we had Elijah and I spoke, of course, and it was this very nice event that we had to just honor victims because Elijah and I at our core, we believe in humanity. I tell people all the time, I'm somebody who, as a Palestinian, I obviously am so sympathetic to my Palestinian brothers and sisters, but that doesn't inherently make me not sympathetic to the Israeli brothers and sisters that I have as well. Because, my father growing up in the West Bank, he had Jewish neighbors, for example, some of them Israeli. And so, even though I disapprove of the Israeli government and a lot of what the state does, I don't view the Jewish people or the Israeli people as my enemies, nor do I see any other people inherently as my enemies, because we believe in human rights and we believe that people are inherently created with the same level of dignity and respect.
100%.
So I have a question
ahead.
for you guys. How big of a hit do you think the org, like this org, should I call it an org?
Yeah, we're in order.
Okay,
Yeah.
How big of a hit did it take October 7th? After October 7th, you guys
it's a
we have
really,
to cancel this,
really interesting. Elijah, you can go into this.
So I would say we invite anyone to the conversation, right? If you're a radical actor, if you're a moderate actor, anyone has a voice.
Well, we should say first of all, we do dialogue sessions.
Yes, yeah.
Around once a month or so.
Once or twice a month, we do dialogue sessions on a host of topics.
And what we do is essentially we invite mostly Jewish and Palestinian students and also some other students for about an hour and a half dialogue. And we pick a topic. Just recently we did one about one-state solution, two-state solution, or confederation. We're actually going to have one tomorrow as well. At 5 o'clock.
We're going to hold it.
It's going to be
this one will be in Calhoun, but like all over the place.
Okay. And so what we do is we invite people, and we have to kind of be selective with who we're inviting because we want to make sure that it's respectful and that we don't want people obviously to be yelling or being abrasive. But we've never honestly had the issue even prior to October 7th or after. But we found is that a lot of the people who were more extreme tended to weed out.
Sure.
And instead we had a lot of people we ended up growing a lot.
We grew a
as
lot,
an organization,
threefold, on our Instagram.
to the point where we had a lot of media picking us up, local Austin stations.
But a lot of people who are the more open, not necessarily moderate, but more open to reaching their hand out to understand the other, to understand their narrative, their identity. Those are the people that started coming to these meetings.
And what do you guys think about this event?
We think we like it's
We
think both of these are a little right now a little divisive, right?
Neither of them really like us that much.
Too
If we're going to be
intense.
honest.
I think for the campus climate, as you know, like I'm sure you know, Halil is.
You'll find some people there that'll love you, bro.
I'm sure, 100%.
And probably there too.
Yeah, we've had some people at
Yeah.
We've had people in PSC and Atidna.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
we're both coming from over there.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
It's very interesting. Typically, people come to us and say,
both like, we
"Look,
both
we'll
saw
love
it,
you,"
bro.
but like the people on that
Yeah.
side, they won't like you.
That's
So,
exactly the situation.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, we were nervous to do this.
yeah.
I mean, it hasn't even really started yet. It's
Yeah.
only
It hasn't
11:30.
started. Yeah, I know.
How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Do you need help?
I'm chilling.
Just want to join? You can join in, yeah, if you want to, or just reside.
Yeah, you can sit.
Yeah, you're fine. Literally anywhere is fine.
But yeah, this year of all years, I think this is going to be the most divisive time for this to take place.
Yeah.
So, without
I
a
think
doubt.
it's cool y'all are doing this.
Thank you,
I think
brother.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we try. It's to show.
We're happy. We already have Philistines. We got Israelis here. It's fantastic that this is already. Yeah.
And we know Rabbi Andy.
Sure.
So we've talked to him, and we initially had concerns about something like this, especially mostly for safety reasons.
Yeah. You need a cop, bro.
There are going to be.
There's going to be cops walking around, but I think.
What is that?
I hope they. I hope they protect everyone. Yeah, fairly. Yeah.
No, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think that usually we were. My job was working with the block party and trying to figuring out like what we're gonna do with the protest because
Yeah,
obviously
of
we think
course.
that there's gonna be a lot of protesters. And,
Sure. Yeah, in years prior, you
and
probably
there's
know
just
that
so
they're-
many UT rules that are so subjective. Like you're not allowed to stand here. You have to be here during passing period. You're allowed to walk and no elevated music.
Yeah.
And there's Coca-Cola coming through. Like there's
Yeah.
so much
Right.
going on. There's
Yeah.
like so many moving parts.
Yeah.
So.
In years prior, I know that PSC would protest like right
On
up
those stairs.
on those stairs, but
Yeah,
this
we're
year
not allowed to.
they're not allowed to
Fire
this year.
things. Like
Fire
a fire,
things.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Fire extinguisher. Yeah, there's a fire extinguisher exit and people coming out of McCombs.
Yeah.
And it was really
So they're just
loud for
enforcing
kids
it this year.
studying,
Yeah.
And no amplified voices.
Gotcha.
Which is very like interesting because like, I mean, I wanted us to play music. Like,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
music.
I
I'd be like,
expected
okay,
it,
people
yeah.
would probably like the yelling would be like a little less if it was loud music.
Jack,
like,
can you
really
actually-
loud
Can you all just help me get like I just like hold on.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I actually need to. And if you'll thank you.
No,
There's
but
tours going
I
on.
can
These
function
tours
and
just not
are
well. I
probably,
appreciate
like,
Oh, you're
just,
good.
like, every
If you need
day
anything,
at
just let
UT.
me know. Oh, I just saw.
Yeah, these happen more or less every day.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that they're probably thinking.
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. I just was gonna say.
You weren't staying for the protests? No? In your younger days, maybe. Yeah. All
Hey,
right.
by the way, Asley just requested to follow me on Instagram.
Oh, beautiful. Wait,
Should I-
and remind me of your name.
Tarek.
Tariq. Nice to meet you.
doesn't know.
Elijah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
best of luck.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Cause.
Thank you so much, my
Hopefully
man.
one day we'll have
Inshallah.
peaceful
Okay.
time.
Inshallah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good to talk to you. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
what I
Afi.
was thinking when I
Alright,
came
Muslim.
up.
Whoa, sorry.
Like I didn't see your chain. I was like, which one's the Palestinian?
Which one's the Palestinian? You don't
Jew?
get to tell.
You're
Wait.
not wearing your chain.
Yeah, sorry.
I wouldn't be able to.
You
tell.
want to
Sorry,
hand me
sorry.
my kafia in my bag?
Sure. We'll make it more obvious. Yeah.
I know it's
I
like.
should have gone full out. I should have grown a peyote. I should have.
Keep on.
yarmulke on.
Put
But
a
to,
yarmulke
hey,
on.
to be
'Cause
fair,
you could definitely go for like
Yeah.
Israeli.
but
and he could
but
go
to
for
be fair,
Palestinian.
it's a testament also to things like this because you can't even sometimes tell
Can't
us
even tell.
apart.
No, that's the whole point, right?
You know?
We're one family, right?
That's the point.
If you look at culture, ancestry, identity, we have more in common than we have dividing us. And I think it's sad that our two peoples have to be in such a bloody issue because at the end of the day, I truly believe we're one family and we're killing each other over this. It's disgusting.
There's a lot of miscommunication we find. Because what we
100%.
find at Atidna is that many Israelis have never spoken to a Palestinian and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so
No,
there's a
it's-
lack of hearing stories. And like also, for example, like Zionism, the term Zionism, from the river to the sea, that
Yeah.
slogan, what do these mean
There's a
for
lot of
different
disconnect
people?
about what these terms even mean,
I
you know,
think
which is why dialogue is very important.
Yeah.
What is your guys' opinion on? I guess half of it is like okay, as much separation, the better. Like a lot of Israelis think that way.
Sure.
Sure.
Like okay, since what happened, it just shows us that we can't live in peace
Sure.
after October 7th. And I know there's like you can talk about hundreds of years ago, you can talk about 75 years ago, you
Sure.
can talk about 15 years ago.
Talk about
but we're
thousands of
right-
years ago if
Yeah,
you
I
want.
want to talk about
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
real quick. I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
that a
So
lot
you
of
think more
Israelis
separation?
think-
Yeah.
no, not me.
Okay.
A lot of Israelis think more separation,
Gotcha.
the better.
Yeah.
Like, especially after October 7th,
Yeah.
like we can't live side by side with
Yeah.
these people.
Yeah.
Let's build a minefield in between us. No one will
Yeah.
ever cross it.
Keep up the wall,
However,
yeah.
as we know, separation usually just causes more like divide.
Leads to more
and you're only
dehumanization,
going to
more
hate
othering.
the person on the other side
Exactly.
when there's a big
Right.
wall.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, when you're trying to go together, it also doesn't work
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So like, it's just I'm pessimistic. I think there'll be no
Sure.
And
peace.
you know what? And I can't blame you. A lot of us are. What we've
Yeah.
what we showed in our last dialogue session is that only roughly 25% of both Israelis and Palestinians favor a two-state solution.
Yeah.
I think that
After October 7th?
after October
Yeah.
7th, this would have
Yeah.
been.
It would have been a different number before October 7th.
Yeah.
Way
You know,
about 50%.
actually, 10 years ago, both groups were 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Because I think most people were willing to give up
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Palestinians, I will say, don't think that a two-state solution is viable for borders that they like.
Yeah.
And then Israelis, I think, would obviously also agree that there's a safety
Yeah.
concern there.
I would even argue, Jad's arguing the political, I would argue based on identity, any solution that divides the land is against both our people's identities, right? For Jews to
Yeah.
have our aspirations completely filled, we need to have access to the entire land, right? Our identity isn't
Right.
really based in Tel Aviv historically. It's not based on the coast. It's based in Hebron. It's based in Jerusalem, right? And for Palestinians, the same issue, right? They care more about the city that their family came from in 48 rather than where they currently are. So for Palestinian, what's important is, can I return to Haifa? Can I return to Jerusalem? Can I return to all these places? Can I return to the Galilee? So for both
Yeah.
our peoples, I believe you cannot have any solution that divides the land. That would be my.
We believe in sort of creating a unifying identity that can
that
get
would
both
be a one
people.
state.
That would be a
Yes.
one state. Yeah.
The problem with that is it's not a Jewish state. If there's
There would be the
majority
demographic
Arabs.
issue.
That's what we
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
too.
But it
Which I
also-
know a lot of
which is
Jewish
such a
people
big barrier.
prioritize.
But it depends how you define a Jewish state. If you're defining it on solely demographics, the Arabs would have, if Israel and the West Bank came together, it's 50-50 right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
Without the refugees. But it depends depends on how you define a Jewish state. There's ways you can make a state Jewish, in my opinion, that don't rely solely on demographics, right? You can have a soft Jewish identity that does not disrupt your Palestinian population, but you can have it present enough to where your Haredi population, all these different groups can recognize that it still has a Jewish identity. Right, so it's a tough battle. It's going to take a lot of conversation, but I do think it's possible.
Yeah, and also,
that makes it work with both people.
Go ahead.
Also, I think that another piece of it is that I don't think one identity negates the other. I think that's something that a lot of people need to come to terms with, is that one existing doesn't make the other one like less important.
Sure.
And we have to actually address it as that and not pretend we're addressing it as that. Or not pretend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it is, but that's not the way, like when you go to Israel, you don't think that way. You're not like, the people in Gaza, they don't negate who we are. They're not over there screaming the end of all Jews. They're not doing that. If we were able to think that way, then yes, there would be peace, but that's not the reality.
I would say there is a level of negation of identity between both peoples. So in the Zionist narrative, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we talk about Palestinians, we don't even say Palestinian. Typically we call them Arabs, right? And we define their identity, we say, Palestinian? No, your ancestors are Arabs, you came from Arabia, go back to Saudi Arabia, right? And similarly, Palestinians, what they'll say about us is they'll say, Jews? No, you're just a religion, you're Europeans. Go back to Russia, go back to Ukraine. There's a consensus on both sides to negate both people's connections to the land. And so, but when you take the reality of it, we both hail from the land. We both come from this land. Our identities, our cultures are so intertwined with
we
this
have
land.
DNA actually prove
we
that.
have DNA. Me and Janet have the same, haplogroup. It's crazy.
It is crazy when you study it.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Going to kind of the wall across the West Bank and stuff. Do you think that, and especially like checkpoints going throughout the West Bank, and certain roadblocks, right? Do you think that if that stuff was taken down in your integrated society, do you think that would decrease the amount of terror attacks within Israel?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the reason that wall's up and the reason those checkpoints are there?
So the reason I argue this as a Palestinian, what we see from Palestinian Americans is the last 76 years, I guess now, close to it, has been a resistance movement. I think that Palestinians believe my grandparents actually lived in Haifa mostly growing up. And then my oldest aunt is 82 years old. She was born in 1942, so before the state of Israel was created. And she lived in Haifa, and she lived with Jewish neighbors, for example. And at 3 years old, before Israel was created, they were kicked out of their land. They had to move all the way to Nablus. So that's where my father grew up, for example.
Yeah.
For Palestinians, there's that desire to be able to have the return back to the land that we had, the farmland, the homeland.
Just being in the same city, at least. That's where identity is based.
The same city.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that for a lot of Jews, for example, that
they don't have the right of return either.
And there's the doubt of security and safety, for example.
Yeah. But I think I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
Some Israelis, or most Israelis, aren't willing to give Palestinians the right of return because we don't have our right of return. If you go to
where exactly?
Iran, Morocco, my
Mm.
grandparents were kicked out of Morocco. You think I can go to Morocco and be like, my grandpa used to live here, this is my land? No. And can we do that in Iran?
Do you think we want to go back? But do you think we want to go back to Morocco or Iran?
Why is that a question though? But yeah, Morocco is a great country, bro. Good
but
food.
I support you going back. I think you should be able to.
Exactly.
But my argument is,
yes, right of return is good.
Sure.
And we believe that Palestinians have the right to return to their land, but we're not allowed to return to our land.
I would say
I think you should be. I think right of return should be granted to everybody.
If you define yourself as a Jew, your identity is tied to Eretz Israel. The only land you want right of return to is that land. So I would say I don't really care if my ancestors go back to Greece or Turkey. My whole belief is that if both peoples can fully express their identity in the land, that's how you create peace. That's how you create, for Palestinians, that's uprooting the root causes of injustice if they can return to that land. For us, it's expressing our identity fully in the land, in our ancestral land we've yearned for 2,000 years, right? Every year, at every Passover Seder, we say next year in Jerusalem, we finally have that. So we're fulfilling our identity, but they also have to fulfill their identity.
And also, just because Jews don't have the right of return to Morocco doesn't mean other groups like Palestinians don't deserve right of return. It's not like those, just because
it's not mutually
exclusive.
Yeah, they don't contradict. Yeah.
Hey.
Rabbi Andy, how we doing?
Hey, how are you?
What's up, Chad?
Yeah,
good to see you.
Hey,
we had some people come over and we had to
I heard you were here. Good to see
How are you, Rabbi?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
So,
How are we doing?
I'm Rabbi Max. I don't
Nice to
think we've
meet you,
met.
Jad. Nice to meet
How we
you.
doing?
Very nice to meet you. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Jad.
So great to see the team.
Jordan. Nice to meet you.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Good
Our
conversations?
good conversation. Our first guest was a Palestinian. We just had two amazing gentlemen, Israelis.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
I didn't realize they
How are both you doing? We're not disrupting anything.
No, this is...
Yeah, we follow the rules. We're not on Speedway.
Yeah.
We're coming to
They were willing to
hi,
listen.
giving you a hard time, my goodness.
Someone gave us a hard time first off. They're like, "Are you with Below or are you with PSC?" And we're like,
It was a UT organizer.
Yeah, it was UT.
Not anything. Okay, good.
I can take
Yeah.
There are many things in the world I can take responsibility for. Really, no. But that is actually not on the list.
Fair enough.
Life is good though.
Yes. If you guys want to invite anyone, we're happy to have
Amazing.
anyone. Yeah.
Amazing. How's your semester been? I haven't seen you since last semester.
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty hectic. I don't know if I told you my father had a stroke, so
Oh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, that's been pretty bad.
How's the recovery?
Oh God, I read it.
Scary.
And you had a nephew. Hey,
I told him to make
Hey! Okay.
little Benjamin.
Glad it's balanced with some good news.
For the
That's
Reddit
exciting.
part.
So,
How stressful has this been for you guys? Organizing, is it been okay? This year of all years? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, like, the students work really hard on it.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Of course. Yeah. Beautiful.
so we're gonna get started
Yes.
shortly.
Yeah,
but
that's
we
we
can
get food at some point.
Yeah, we do have.
There is food.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
If you guys want to,
there's
yeah.
snacks,
If
yeah.
you want, yeah. Give us some food over here. Like,
All
it's so
right.
sweet. All right.
Guys, keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you guys.
Have a good one.
I was scared to say hi. You remember me?
Remind me of your name.
Seth.
Seth, my man. Yes.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, buddy.
How you doing?
Good. Yes. We met last time at the Rudy Rockman event. Right?
Yeah.
But before Rudy, I think you were actually at the crypto conference.
I was. Yes, I was. Yeah.
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 I just came over to say hi.
Yes, my man. How have you been?
Not too bad. How's life?
Life is pretty good. Have you met my Palestinian partner, Jed?
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
Seth. I feel like you told me about him, yeah?
I told you about Ahmed, who was the old Palestinian vice president.
got it.
Yeah, yeah. This is a new
sure,
Palestinian
sure.
vice president. Yeah.
No, I love that you guys are doing that.
Thank you,
It's
brother.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
What was your name, Jed?
Jad.
Jad. Jad, J-A-D?
J-A-D-D technically.
Oh,
But yeah,
cool.
J-A-D.
Through Arabic they say Jad. Yeah, they
It really should be J-A-D.
Yeah.
My dad
Oh,
added
it should
an
be.
extra.
I was like, does Jad?
So my dad added the extra letter because he thought it would make it for more American, for it would help America. My dad also changed it. So my dad's first name was Robbie, but he changed his name to Robbie.
Yeah.
So like my dad Americanized his own name.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
example.
Yeah,
Do you prefer Jad or Jad?
Either or, I don't care.
Fair enough.
No, I don't care. My cousins, it's Jad.
Yeah.
My name is Jad here. So I don't care.
I feel like Jad sounds like an American skater boy out in California.
Yeah.
It's an Arabic name. It's fully
No,
Arabic.
I know.
But then I get Chad a lot when I tell people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a struggle for the name.
See, that's the real hate crime right there.
Yeah.
I call you Chad.
Yeah.
No, I do get offended.
I would too.
Fair enough.
So I use a fake name. Whenever I'm like ordering, I just put my middle name is Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which if you're like, shouldn't your middle name be your dad's name? It was originally my dad's name. But then they changed my middle name too.
So I can actually stop the misspelling. I was at Starbucks one day, and they put down, my name is Seth, and they put down sad.
Oh.
And so I come into work. Somebody asked me how my day was, and I'm like, I thought it was good, but this asshole at Starbucks said I was sad.
You know, one time I went to Starbucks in Belgium.
Yeah.
And I said my name was. I just said Charlie. They
Older
wrote
brother?
down.
What's your name?
They wrote down Tarly, T-A-R-L-I. I'm like,
nice
how
to
do we
meet you.
about that.
Where in Belgium?
You were from
Brussels,
UT,
or-
yeah.
So my mom's
My
side
man,
of the
I
family,
remember
she's
you so
actually
well.
from,
How have you
well,
been?
she's from Ghent mostly.
You wanna
But
join?
we were in Brussels
Yeah.
as well.
100%.
Just Bob?
It's been a hot minute, man.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
So your family's from Nablus.
Yeah, my dad's side is from Nablus.
Have you been, or
I've never been.
have you been to Israel proper at all?
I've
or-
not, no.
Do you want to, or?
I would love to. I mean, I would love to go to the West Bank sometime. I wouldn't go back to Israel proper.
But you don't want to see Haifa? Your family's from Haifa.
I would love to go back to Haifa one
Yeah.
day. I mean, it would have to come with certain guidelines, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't think I could go back to Israel now. My dad certainly could. My dad went to prison in the West Bank, so I mean,
Fair.
definitely wouldn't be able to at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not be safe for you to go
Right.
currently. at least.
Oh, I would love. We were trying to go this summer. Elijah.
Yeah,
and I
we were
both
trying to
of
go
us
to the West Bank together. Yeah.
because we were
for-
gonna do
It helps
work
to have
there.
someone who is
Can
you at
you-
the Veil of Leeds, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be like cautious, and I would talk to the consulate first and just make sure that they're aware that
Yeah.
you're going.
This year of all years, yeah.
Like, not just this year of all years, but like because your father was in prison. And
Yeah,
Sure.
I won't be going. My dad and mom don't want me to go.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Which is, I think, is
Look,
very fair.
I
This
also have
year
some issues.
especially.
So-
Someday, inshallah, you'll be able to.
Inshallah.
Absolutely,
Inshallah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I lived in the West Bank for a long time on a you know Shorshim, you know of Roots.
Yeah.
So I lived on Khalid's
They do
farm.
good work.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Khalid.
Yeah.
On the board now.
Yeah, we're on the board of Roots. We're on the board of
Oh,
Roots.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
But-
Yeah, we
Recently,
we most
officially.
recently went there.
You went to Shorshim?
Yeah.
Wow.
On the trip that I was leading with Texas iTrack.
Wow. Okay.
So,
Wow.
Like we tried to. I don't know if you've ever heard of iTrack, but basically,
Yeah.
No, I thought
like we wanted to make it as like universal as possible.
Sure.
So we did a day in Ramola.
Sure.
We did a day in. We went to the Colandia checkpoint.
Sure,
we
sure.
went to.
Yeah.
Hey.
How we doing, Paulita?
Over here, not over
I just wanted to introduce you to my boyfriend, but also introduce him to like the club and
that's
stuff.
so sweet.
guys.
Hi,
What's your name?
Good to see you again.
Raphael. Nice to meet you, Elijah.
Elijah.
So sweet to meet
Truly
you.
some of the nicest people ever.
Well, we.
Oh yeah, we
would
met.
think
we
so.
met.
Yeah, it's the sunglasses hide it, but the tooth gives it away.
No, yeah. You remember him?
Yeah, it's the man himself.
The man, the myth, the
You have a
moron.
repetition.
We'll take some seats.
And I haven't met you yet, but
My name is Jad. Nice to meet you.
No,
What's
my
your name?
name's Paulita.
Paulita, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And Raphael.
Yeah.
Raphael. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
How's it been going here so far?
Pretty good. So our first guest was Palestinian, then we had 2 Israelis, now we have Seth. So it's going pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, one of the guy
And also my
wasn't
friend
Israeli, I don't
from
think.
high school. This is my friend from
They
high school,
really
by the way. I'm
down-
sorry.
Oh,
I didn't
really? Nice
introduce
to meet you.
I'm so
They
sorry.
went from a Palestinian. Love to have you guys over there to be able to like.
I mean, I would be skeptical to do it.
Interesting. Yeah.
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 Why?
Yeah.
Because first of all, Elijah and I are not
It was
trying to
nice to
affiliate
meet you guys.
ourselves.
It was nice
Thank you. We're not trying to affiliate ourselves with either Hillel or the PSC right now.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And I
That'll
think
be the primary
for me,
concern
especially as a
too.
Palestinian, I don't think I could do the block part. I could attend it in good conscience, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No, that's fair.
fair.
My issue, what he articulated, like, we don't want to be associated with either side. Like, we're quite
Right.
intentionally, like, in between the two for, yeah.
No, I respect that.
Yeah. But,
Like, I'm glad that you're here in general.
yeah.
It's like-
No,
like,
dialogue
it's-
is important. I think it's
yeah.
100% important. Yeah. And if we have someone because I'm not necessarily, like, articulating the Israeli perspective as, like, 100% is the current narrative. I'm sending over your
You're
way for sure.
articulating the Elijah perspective.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm also not articulating the Israeli perspective.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just trying to
Sure.
like answer people's
Yeah.
like factual questions to the
For
best
sure.
that I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like whether those facts come from like Al Jazeera or Al Manar or
Sure.
those facts come from
Yeah.
Haaretz or JPost
Sure.
or
Yeah.
like Ynet or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just want people to mostly I just want people to do their own research.
Of course,
And
yeah.
to
For sure.
like communicate with people that have a different background from them.
Of course.
Like, I know. I think I talked to you a little bit about
Yeah.
this like previously. So, like a little bit about my background. When I was in undergrad, I helped to lead like a Jewish, Islamic, Christian sort of dialogue group.
Awesome.
And then I sat on the board of the Democrats, the Socialists, and the Republicans all at once. To try
Oh
to, like,
my
get them to
gosh.
communicate.
Wow. Yeah.
Did not work. Just got
That's
called
amazing
psycho-Nazi.
effort, though. I applaud you. I applaud you for that.
Yeah, no.
Like, all I wanted to do was get them to have like a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Completely unsuccessful.
Sure.
But like made some like good connections along the way.
Yeah.
Then I transferred like much happier place, and we had a like a program at Brandeis that brought an Israeli and a Palestinian emissary sort of like as students every year. So like I used to help out with that a lot.
Wow.
Like one of my, I would say like the best class that I ever took in undergrad was this like co-taught class.
Sure.
It was co-taught by I don't know if you know these names, but you probably know Khalil Shikaki.
Yes.
So
100%.
Khalil Shikaki,
Yeah.
Abdul Munum, who's a Egyptian
Yes.
scholar,
Yeah.
and Shai Feldman.
Yes.
who's a Israeli
I know
scholar.
Shai. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so they co-taught this like tri-narrative class.
Wow.
That was
Yeah.
basically for the first half of the class, Shai would teach like 2 hours of Israeli right-wing history.
Wow, okay.
And then Abdul Munum would teach the Arab narrative for the second hour of the
Sure,
class.
yeah.
And then for the second half of the class, Khalil Shikaki taught 2 hours of Palestinian history.
Wow.
And Shai Feldman taught 1 hour of Israeli left-wing history.
Wow.
So
Hitting
it's
every
really-
mark over here. Yeah.
Well, not every, but like
a good breadth. Yeah.
enough that it was like a good starting point
Sure,
to sort
sure.
of direct people.
Yeah.
And so then when I like worked at ZOA, I was able to like be
I
their
don't know. We
weapon
can always do it
coordinator,
again.
and I worked for,
Oh, that's
when I worked for
Yeah, I
the
just
Knesset in the opposition, I was
That's
on
kinda
there. I
tough
was like their
space
right
because
wing, like
they have
whatever.
the speedway.
Ephraim, no hello.
We just were told we can go here, basically.
How are you?
Shalom. How are you doing?
I'm hiding behind the hat and the sunglasses. You know?
I'm sorry. Without the keep, I'm sorry. My bad. But yeah. How are you doing, Rabbi?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Definitely. I didn't wear it initially.
Sorry?
You had a good semester?
I've had a great semester.
I wasn't wearing it initially, but I just put
But
it on.
I want to
It's a nice
introduce you.
career.
This
Yeah,
is Jad. He's my Palestinian counterpart. Nice to
Nice to meet you. Jad, how do you spell it?
J-A-D-D.
J-A-D-D. Nice to meet
Yeah. This is Rabbi Ephraim. So if you remember during the
nice.
joint vigil, a lot of people from an Orthodox Jewish community came out to support our event. They're from Texas Olami, which Rabbi Ephraim
very
is from.
nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep.
There are a lot of different organizations on campus.
There are.
Yeah.
But no, they're very supportive. They're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Great. Good to see you.
I am supposed to go back over to that booth.
I understand.
Really good to see you.
Absolutely.
You guys will be here all day, or
Till 3. Till the festivities end. Yeah.
well, stop by before you leave. If nothing
100%.
else.
I'll come say hello. I'll come say
Are
hello.
you old enough to get a beer with me?
I am old enough. I'm 21. Yeah.
Are you?
I'm not. I don't drink though either, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
All right, as long as they don't kick you out of the bar.
It's a little haram. It's a little haram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
It depends on how religious you are.
Exactly.
I'm actually really not religious, but I just...
Arak in the West Bank is a staple, so yeah, you need it. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, Jad, really nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Really nice to see you.
Really nice to see you too.
I'll bring you guys food in a bit once I can get a break.
You guys are so sweet.
You're very nice. I'm not too hungry right now, though, so you I mean, no rush.
In like an hour.
Yeah, hour and a half.
Sure,
Yeah, that'll be nice.
sure.
We probably need
chicken shawarma, beef shawarma.
any of the above. What do we think is best?
Hummus
Yeah.
pita.
Is it
Nothing too
kosher
heavy.
halal?
I believe it is.
Kosher for Sunnis is also halal, so I think.
Yeah, well, I just do halal.
I'm Sunni,
because I
so
can't
it's
afford
fine.
kosher meat.
Got you. That's fair.
Definitely
It's the same-
kosher,
it's
which
the same
I
thing,
think
man.
is
It's the
sufficient
same
for
thing.
halal.
Yeah.
Like
Largely
It's
the same.
Different in such
So,
small ways.
Yeah.
it's just the way that they chefed it. Is it
Yeah.
to the left or the right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you want beef or chicken? Which one? Whenever they come out.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
I mean, I prefer chicken.
Chicken,
But I don't
yeah.
mean to like make
Yeah.
me.
Chicken?
Yeah. So
I'll
this
set
is
you up
this
on
is a
one.
funny story from Shorashim before you go.
Yeah, go for it.
So you know how Shorashim has a summer
Always
camp for
stories.
they bring together
He
40
has,
Palestinian kids and 40
Yeah,
Israeli
yeah.
kids. So I was on chef duty that one day, and I was not paying attention to the knife I was using. So I accidentally cut all the
sorry,
food
that
with
was
the
me.
non-kosher
Decoctor.
knife.
I'll do
Yeah.
it in a bit.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, are we really about to waste all this food?
Did you?
Yeah.
Or just call it halal?
We called it halal. Yeah. So
You're
that-
right. This is it's unkosher. It's now halal. It's still kosher meat.
Yeah.
You just cut it the wrong way.
Exactly. Yeah. So we pulled some shenanigans, but yeah, it didn't go to
That's
waste.
fair. It's
Yeah.
okay. I accidentally decoshered the entire camp at Ramon Nyack.
Oy.
Whoa.
Boy, boy.
I was having like a really bad day, and
Yeah.
like I went into like I was dealing with 6-year-olds all day long.
Yeah.
Also called Shorashim, the 6-year-olds there.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I asked the staff for like the key to go to the kitchen. So I went to the kitchen. I'm not thinking. I haven't taken my Adderall. I haven't had my coffee.
Sure.
I'm just like
Understood.
drained from these 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
I walk into the kitchen. I grab the first like spoon and knife off of the wall that I see.
No.
I grab a plate. I walk over to the other side of the kitchen and I grab my chicken, chop it, put it in the thing.
Yolo.
Then I walk back over. I toss that in the sink. I walk back over and but I grabbed some silverware on that side, walked back over to the
Yeah.
fridge and poured my rice in there.
Oh.
And then I tossed that in the sink. And then I'm still like completely absent-minded.
Sure.
And then I toss everything in the microwave that's closest.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 microwaves. I'm like, oh, it's the most convenient one.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I realized, oh shit, this is a dairy microwave. So I take it out of the dairy
so
microwave and I
fuck.
put it in the meat microwave.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh shit, the rice is dairy. So I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I take all of the silverware and I'm like, and I turn on the microwave to just like let the microwaves go for like 5 minutes
Sure.
empty. So I'm like, this is probably what you would do to kosher it, I think.
Yeah. Fair.
And then
Sure.
I run everything under like hot water, but in both sinks.
Yeah.
And I said, Baruch atah Adonai, oops, which I figured is like the prayer that you're supposed to say to fix everything.
I assume so.
And then
By halakha, I'm pretty sure 100%.
I told the head chef, and the head chef was like, "Don't tell them shkiach."
Yeah,
He'll
no,
be
literally,
very
that was
mad
just
about
me.
it.
Yeah.
That guy is so whiny. And I figured like he would tell them shkiach like later that day.
Yeah.
And like they would fix it, but
Yeah.
he just didn't want me to like bear the brunt of it.
Sure.
Turns out the schmuck didn't tell him for like multiple weeks. And I felt
Saved your ass over here.
No,
Yeah.
I mean I felt terrible. 'Cause, like these people have just been inadvertently eating non-kosher.
kosher
So
food.
they re-koshered it in
Okay.
the end, but I was like,
Yeah, I would feel a
Like-
little guilty, just a little bit of guilt.
Yeah.
I understand.
I was like, in retrospect, I should have told you. But I was like 18 years old.
Yeah,
I'm stupid.
you can't fault you.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
good to see you.
Good to see you,
Nice
brothers.
to meet you. Your name was
Orev. O-R-E-V.
O-R-E-V. Seth. Nice to meet you. And
All right.
Sartha.
Sartha.
Sartha. Wait, Sartha or Sartha?
Sartha.
Sartha.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Friend of mine from high school. Really
Cool.
nice dude.
San Antonio.
All right.
Yep.
2 chickens when they come out. If you guys are here, you want anything else?
I'll take beef.
All right. Will you be here for a while?
Yeah, Orb's gonna be here for a while.
And
you
you
can
will
stay as long as you
Probably gonna. Hell yeah.
You're heading
I'm
out.
like, you can stay.
Okay.
I don't care.
I'm staying for the food. I'll do the food.
This is another Reagan representative, not Palestinian or Jewish, but he's a great friend of mine. He's so
Dang.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, my boy Trevor loves Ronald Reagan. So
Yeah, his roommate went to Cornerstone High School, so yeah. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Y'all both from San Antonio.
They are.
Yeah, we're both from San Antonio.
I'm from that
Yeah.
clown city.
Yeah.
I'm from Dallas.
Dallas, Austin. So yeah, we need Houston now. We just need Houston. Yeah.
And those are the only cities in Texas.
Exactly. That matter. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or how are you doing? How have you been?
I'm chilling. There's not a lot going on. Just kind of been stressed a little bit about today.
Yeah. Just a little. Just a little bit.
We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes. I don't think it'll.
Our first few interactions went really
No,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I was
Yeah.
disappointed the 2 Jewish guys they left so early.
Because other people came. Yeah.
I wish that we could have said bye. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, only one of them was Israeli. I thought.
Wait, Shelton, did you post on the Reddit?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I just wish. I feel like we had more potential to talk to them.
We did. It was good conversation. It was fantastic.
I think they
conversation.
were a little difficult.
They're a little sus, yeah.
A little difficult. I think they got better.
They got better with time. It's all about phrasing. It's all about phrasing.
But you have more leverage than I do.
Of course. When it's Jews, 100%. When it's Israelis,
What's the idea behind
this?
No comments.
Just
no comments.
In order to get Jews and so there's two reasons. One, just joint dialogue, freedom of speech, right? Get Jews and Palestinians together to be discussing these issues. But the other one is to show the UT campus that a Jew and a Palestinian can be doing something like this at this time, right? It's the most divisive time in the entire year. There's the PSC protest right over there. There's going to be Israel Block Party right over there. It's starting right now. And it's going to be the most divisive time in all of UT history, probably, I would say, because of October 7th and everything that's since then. So an event like this is just to show UT that a Jew and a Palestinian still can come together for mutual and civil dialogue to understand each other. So it's the kind of things we're trying to do.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I'm going to go over here and see if we...
Sounds good. So yeah, that's the basic premise behind it. But
Yeah, it's interesting because I've heard like the Israeli right side.
Yeah.
And then I've heard a little bit less, but I've heard the Palestinian perspective.
Sure.
But like I have not heard the Israeli left perspective.
The Israeli left perspective.
I feel like
it's a minority perspective. So that's it's definitely not a dominant voice anymore. But
it is. I think it is growing a little.
It's growing in response. Yeah. But it's sad. I would say both. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like both extremes are kind of growing from this a little bit. Yeah.
I think people just become more extreme for an extreme situation.
Yeah, which makes sense. So the Israeli left, some people, when you say Israeli left, some people are like, there is no Israeli left, right? You can't be Israeli and left. Some people say liberal Zionism is the Israeli left, which is like, they want basic human rights for Palestinians, but they don't want that to come at the expense of the Jewish state, stuff like that. Whereas right-wing Zionists would say they really don't care about Palestinians, right?
Or worse.
Yeah, or worse, right? Annex the West Bank, annex Gaza, all of the land is ours, right? They can be our subjects, but this is a Jewish state and it's all ours, right? The Israeli left is typically those championing a two-state solution, authentically, I would add, and those who just want to see basic human rights for both peoples, but they want to live in their separate spheres. I would say there's Israeli leftists who take a different approach, who are much more open to, say, a one-state possibility with both peoples living together in a one-state reality. So these are the different groups, I would say. But the liberal Zionism tangent and the leftist tangent, which might not define itself as Zionist, but it is a leftist tangent, are more minority perspectives. Yeah.
I think that we should potentially have a little list of some Instagram accounts that are good, like standing together.
Yeah,
some like unapologetic.
Unapologetic, yeah, they're like the narrative ones. They're fantastic. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, just put it on like the sign.
Maybe not on the sign, but if we have like paper and we could tape the paper.
Yeah, I know we have all my stuff that they have.
I don't have anything either. Yeah, Sheldon, if you can add the next paper.
This is a school.
So they're late over here to starting the protest. Block Party has started officially.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is so quiet. That's my question.
There might be like a walk. There's a block party because not everyone's here right now.
Gotcha.
Because it's so quiet. I mean, wait.
The block party also starts.
So is that group gathered over there? Is that PSC?
Yes, they're all wearing keffiyehs, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just a wild guess that it's
PSC, yeah. Oh, interesting. I thought, okay, so they're occupying, yeah, that's smart. They're on both sides. Yeah, so you have the, yeah. I see what they're doing. Yeah.
How have you been?
I've been good. I'm so stressed about this. But yeah, so far so good.
And then tomorrow too.
Tomorrow will be less stressful because it's a closed event and you don't have, just anyone coming up to you. But yeah. Tomorrow will be fun though. It's a good conversation. Yeah. Tomorrow will be fun.
What are you most stressed about?
I'm most stressed about individuals who potentially be crazies and come up and just start harassing us. Especially this year of all years, I think there's going to be the most tension. So that's my main fear. Yeah. I don't think PSC from anyone affiliated with PSC would come up to us because I know that they're. Severin, my man, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I don't think anyone from PSC would come up to us that would be discouraged from our work because they typically tell their people don't engage with anything beyond the PSC sphere. But I don't know if Hillel's telling their people the same thing, but there are people in Texas Michelanu, which is more of the right-wing Zionist Oregon campus. I don't know if they're telling their people the same thing. So I would probably have a little more fear of Israelis currently. And I'm saying this from the Jewish perspective. But you never know who's going to come up. That's my main fear. Yeah. Initiative. We're with a group called Atidna. So Atid, Hebrew word for future, not Arabic suffix for R. We bring together Palestinians, Jews, Arabs, Israelis, have a conversation about anything and everything.
All right.
You're free to join us if you want.
Okay, what are y'all talking about? It's whatever you want to talk about.
Whatever you want to talk about.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Ask us anything. We're open books. The chairs, I would say.
It's the American in me.
No,
I would say you're allowed to have your
my-
hostage memorial, but I think there's a secondary reason behind the chairs.
What do you think the secondary?
The secondary reason is they do not want PSC
It's
to be able
the
to
politicals.
protest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
it's
does
very
make a lot of
obvious.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they want to reserve all the speedway to prevent anything from disrupting Israel Bloc Party. It's pretty obvious. Yeah.
What is the Israel Bloc Party?
It's just a
I
festival.
have no idea what it is.
It's basically just a festival celebrating Israel.
It's an every annual
why.
thing.
Yeah, I see why there's the big
Right.
protest.
Exactly, yeah. And they every year PSC hosts a counter protest against the Bloc Party.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, right?
Yeah.
Apartheid state, right? They say Israel's appropriating Palestinian culture, Palestinian cuisine. All these different variables come into play. So
Do they put this up every year though?
No, this is just hostages for this year.
Okay, and are they
This year.
allowed to usually be on Speedway?
Usually every year they are directly like on the opposite side of the tent.
Usually
They're
allowed.
right there. Yeah,
And
this
they're
year they're
not
far
this
away.
year?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
like rented out though, basically,
But they're-
right?
it's
Hello
never-
rented out the
I know.
entirety of Speedway.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the fact that they're allowed
To rent
for
out
this.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
road.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Seems a little extensive.
I don't
in my
know,
opinion.
yeah, who you need to know to do that, but clearly they know some peeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think PSA should consider renting
Yes,
out
that's what we
Yeah.
knew. We knew about that ahead of time.
Yeah.
I'd be
We were
surprised.
both. I was nervous to do this.
Yeah.
Very nervous.
I was nervous too, I will admit.
Well, he's the one who's like trying to hype me up. He's like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
But I'm
How are
internally
they
also
gonna
nervous.
protest?
They're just gonna scream as loud as they
They're
can.
gonna chant, and that's
Yeah.
it.
They're gonna
I think.
chant.
Yeah, for
They
the usual
can't.
chants,
They
for the
can't
River
come
Sea.
over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I heard some people they might get arrested for that. I heard just somewhere that
For
that
chanting?
might
You're right.
be-
No, because he's
No.
right. Because
Because
Abbott's
they-
recent resolution, yes.
They
Because
consider it hate speech.
he
can't
name
say
dropped
that line.
Yes, from the River Sea was specifically named in the resolution.
So is that
was
not going
like
to be going to the Supreme Court?
Potentially, that's a free speech violation for
That is a
sure.
free
It is
Yeah.
definitely.
Also,
I think I
Or
have
the
a
Court of
problem-
Appeals?
Yeah, I think
Also,
I have a
it's
problem
like-
with all that.
Yeah,
it would take a long
fair
time.
enough.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, that's
because
just-
you can't be. It's anti-conservative to be even saying this stuff. You can't be a Republican and then advocate for like not.
Yeah.
Well,
It just doesn't. But the hypocrisy just
Yeah.
it just shines.
But
It just
also at
outshines.
the same time, they said from the river to the sea was a call for terrorism. If you ask any
Yeah, I was going to
Palestinian-
say perhaps they're going to reason with it being a press and immediate danger to the Jewish people.
Because they say, oh, it
That-
means
that would
wiping out
obviously
the
be
Jews from the
different.
Mediterranean. Which if you ask the Palestinians, they say, no, we don't mean pushing out the Jews into the Mediterranean. We just want one state called Palestine where all peoples, Jews and Arabs, live as
Or
equal
not
people.
even called Palestine. I mean, I'm not somebody who cares about the name.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I think the name.
Oh,
in
that
in
chant.
Yes,
Yeah.
But yeah, most Palestinians, I think, would be able to cave on the name issue probably to find a mutual name.
It's like my
Canaan,
100th thing down the line.
Yeah, naming. Yeah.
Are the police walking around to prevent?
Yes.
Like,
Overlap. Yeah.
We knew there was going to
So
be
are regular
presence.
people allowed to go in?
Regular people, anyone who wants to go can go into the tent.
Can go in and
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm interested.
I've seen people with keffiyehs in the past like walk in, so like they won't prevent you if you're Palestinian.
from your
yeah.
from
But, like,
walking.
if it's-
yeah,
But yeah,
But if you
they're
start
clearly part of
yelling,
the group, yeah, they're gonna stop you. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like
have
that's a
y'all
big
ever
vibe.
been in?
I was forced in one year to see what happened.
Well, someone invited me into this,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not against.
I'm not against going. They have a
One
booth
picture
with,
of me in there and I'm done.
with specifically an Israeli for dialogue, similar to what we're doing, but only for the Israeli narrative. So yeah, they do their thing. Yeah.
I'm gonna head to class.
Oh God!
What's your name again?
The camel
James.
stuff. Are there
Make sure to follow us on the
camels?
Atidna International
Yeah.
Instagram.
They couldn't get them this time.
You're so nice, brother. All right, have a good one, James.
It's been better for you to have.
I think if we bring enough camels, we can solve this.
We're minimalists, but
I
we don't want to.
agree.
We kind of don't want too much going on, right? We want to attract our people, but we don't want to.
Trust me, I don't
Cause too
want.
much
I
attraction,
don't want a
you know?
big scene.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
want the biggest of scenes. Yeah,
I definitely don't.
we have our
'cause also,
policy.
I feel like you'll be the target of any UT stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they?
being
Are
real.
they?
But frankly, if
Media?
anything happens, I can
Yeah, media.
Front
That's what we
line.
do.
I understand.
just like for stuff because I have no affiliation to UT. So what are they gonna do?
Yeah, they can't do anything.
Oh, you're not. You're not a UT. That's actually.
I
that's
just from
really cool.
Austin, and
you
I,
from?
I met Elijah at Hillel.
Let me post on the
weeks
Atidna
ago,
Instagram.
That's awesome.
And
That's good stuff.
yeah,
I personally identify as a co-president on my resume.
She told me about this last night.
What?
So y'all are just gonna have to cooperate with that.
Jack,
I
she
don't.
usurped
I don't
you.
get any sort of recognition for this.
Jesus Christ.
I'm at a
oh my
lower
God, we got
rank.
15 likes. That's wild.
Are you a vice
I'm
president?
vice.
Oh.
He's
He's gonna be president after I'm done.
Co-president. Who
No,
cares?
he doesn't.
We switch off. Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna graduate.
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Oh, you're 2026.
He's
Yeah.
younger than me. Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
He's could have graduated.
What did you think I was?
He's taking over for me.
I don't know. I just don't really
when
think
I'm-
about it. I
Yeah,
guess.
when I graduate.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was 2026, and then I just decided to graduate.
Yeah.
So she liked my year
If you
more.
just try. If you
Wait,
just
when's
think
your
really
birthday?
hard-
Yeah.
You're
Sorry.
20. You're 20 years old.
Yeah, I'm 20.
When's your birthday?
November.
Oh, I'm December.
Yeah.
November what day?
10th.
Okay.
We've had this discussion.
I'm sure we did. I have bad memory.
I do too.
The first Palestinian that we spoke to today was so sweet.
Yeah.
He was so sweet. He was a Kuwaiti Palestinian, and he was older.
Such a good guy.
Such a sweet dude. He had visited Israel. He had lived in Israel for a job for a little while.
Is that the guy that was sitting right
No.
This was
This was
a different guy.
This was like almost half an hour ago at this point.
He was the first guy to come up to.
Start at 12.
We started at 11:30. He was the first one to come up.
Yeah,
to
we
us.
were here like. We were at the UTC at 10:45.
Yeah. Such a sweet dude.
I mean, I would have known if you would have
No. It's okay. It's okay.
I was sitting in a wheelchair.
By the way,
side
the fact
of
that there's
road.
like just like
Sorry,
students
I'm a
here
little
like working
salty.
here is
What?
great. The fact that there's like students here just like casually working here is a crazy idea.
Which is a traditional Palestinian garb. And Jews have something called a talit, which is a prayer shawl for us. And if you look back at the origins of both garbs, you'll find that they both hail from the same genesis, from a Canaanite cultural garb. And so even in our wear, even in our language, right, we're more related than we are different. So everything about us points to us being one family. So
What do you want to say about that?
I don't know. Like, if you have anything to add.
Well, I agree with Elijah on the idea of the unity with an identity. We believe fundamentally. I mean, you can look at the data how modern day Israelis and Palestinians can both trace back their ancestry really to about 2,000 years ago and to the ancient Canaanite people, and our DNA is so similar.
Yeah.
So we want to form sort of an idea where we can create brotherhood between those of us who appear to be diametrically opposed when we're not really. At the end of the day, Elijah and I are individuals who care about all human lives, regardless of if they're Palestinian, Israeli, if they're Arab or Jewish. And we believe that message can be spread through something like Atidna that we do. And so we ultimately believe that instead of having to necessarily be pro this or pro that, you can absolutely have your opinions. And we encourage civil disagreement all the time at Atidna. We do fundamentally believe that it is possible to at least be empathetic to both peoples and to understand and listen to people. Because a lot of the time we close off our ears and we don't listen. And Atidna is a great place for Israelis to speak to Palestinians for the first time and vice versa. And that's what we do basically. We do peace events as well. So this is one of
this is our peace event,
with us.
During the most
it took a lot of
tense time on
convincing
campus.
for us to do it. He proposed this idea.
Yeah.
I was nervous to do it, in all honesty.
I was nervous too, but
You know.
But yeah, no,
I mean, it's only 20 minutes in technically, so who knows what.
Well, we're 50 minutes in by this point. They're late. We started early.
Yeah, we've actually we've been ready for over an hour and a half. Basically.
We've been going. But but that's our basic premise, right? Even beyond DNA, right? We said culture, identity, everything about us. We try and solidify it. We're one family, and hopefully, inshallah, B'ezrat Hashem, we can unify as one people in the future. So that's our basic premise.
And we have great conversations.
Yeah, we have great conversations with both disagreement and a lot of agreement. So
awesome.
It goes both ways for sure.
Absolutely.
Would you argue that dialogue is enough?
I would say it's
one step.
It's a component, but it's definitely not enough.
And
right?
I want to say this because a lot of people will criticize us by saying we're not doing enough, but we've never said that the dialogue is the only thing. Because we've had people say, "Why aren't you doing, a book club or a food bank or something?"
Yeah.
And
someone did call and say you guys should also be
some
doing
people
a food
do
bank.
not think that we don't. Some people don't like me because of Atidna and stuff because they think that I'm like normalizing stuff.
Because he interacts with Israelis.
Right.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Which I would argue is definitely not normalization.
But these people are never
at the end of the
Palestinian.
day,
They're never Palestinian.
We are all.
They're people who are not connected nearly as much. And what we find is that a lot of time people who are not directly related to the event tend to have a lot of more extreme views or don't understand the nuance behind the conversation. Elijah and I have read more books on the subject than any of these people have in their life. And that's a testament to what we try to do. We research so much, we talk so much, and in truth, it is. There are parts that are not complicated. There are parts that are really complicated. This is something that is happening for a reason, and we believe that you have to start with some sort of dialogue because as Palestinians, we acknowledge that we need to talk with our Jewish and Israeli brothers and sisters. It can't happen with Palestinian resistance alone. And I still support doing protests, boycotts, donating, whatever, and I've done all those things. I just think that dialogue is an important step to understand how progress can be made. Because at the end of the day, it's going to start, especially with our generation. Because tides are somewhat turning, I would say, and it's been a lot of aggression in the last 6 months. So
I would say the lack of dialogue is a big reason for the aggression in the first place.
Yes.
So Jad mentioned earlier when we were talking about the Kuwaiti Palestinian about how when we talk, both peoples are in their little bubbles, and that typically lends both peoples to say terms like Zionism or say from the river to the sea without knowing what these phrases mean.
Right.
And it causes a lot of animosity because when Jews, specifically Zionist Jews, hear the phrase from the river to the sea, we think that means, oh, they're trying to kick us out, right? From the river to the sea, they want all Jews pushed into the Mediterranean, right? And when Palestinians hear certain phrases that are Zionist orientation, they take the most extreme negative view typically because that's how they talk about it.
Yeah.
Typically, there's much more of a middle ground that is not inherently anti the other, and that's typically what we're trying to show.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
If you look at the media portrayal of all of this,
Yeah.
I think you just see the extreme viewpoints.
100%.
If you talk to a normal person who's literally a neighbor with like a fellow Jew in Palestine or a fellow Palestinian in Israel, it's not as much tension as they want you to think it is.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that you aren't allowed to talk with the other side is like really synonymous with just like racism in general. It's like
we don't even try to see it as two sides necessarily.
that's what I'm saying, but that's how they want you to see it.
Of course.
It's how it's presented. It's how everybody like. It's the thought process behind it. Is if you say a certain phrase or you believe a certain thing,
then you're calling for the extinction.
You're automatically yes.
Where everybody in Gaza is,
exactly.
a villain.
And that needs to stop.
100%.
That's not getting anywhere.
100%.
Yeah. What we acknowledge, of course, is that the two sides, as much as I don't like to say two sides, but there's different work that needs to be done. We always say that mostly Israelis, it's a systemic thing, obviously, ending the occupation, ending the apartheid, ending the roadblocks along the way. For Palestinians, it's a lot of understanding. Because, both groups of people have a lot of trauma. Palestinians, more so the last 75 years. Jews, obviously, throughout the history of thousands of years. And so, for both peoples, it's very sensitive. But we believe in hard conversations.
For sure.
Because how are you going to get someone without these conversations?
I would also say,
can't really.
To add on to what Jad's saying, there's also a power imbalance at play, right? Israel in this relationship has all the power, but that also means they have the responsibility to change the systems that Jad said, change the apartheid status, change the roadblocks, change all the above, right? Absolutely. But I think both sides also do have the psychological component.
Yes, there's a lot of we are the ones who belong.
Yes.
There's
and
a
the
lot
others
of belonging.
don't.
Which, in not any other society, really, we wouldn't be talking as much as, like, you have to have a reason why you're here. Like, in the U.S., we don't say, well, your ancestors were here, so that's why.
That conversation
we're a
doesn't
melting
exist in
pot, obviously. But it's a very specific example. I mean, Israel-Palestine is a very particular region in the world where this applies, mostly. I disagree with that. I mean, listen, I think the idea of a Jewish state or inherently an Arab state it's a racist idea. That's what it is. Because you are inherently saying that a certain race belongs and one doesn't. Now, obviously, there might be a psychological reason for wanting that, and I understand, but I don't think, I think it falls very short of, frankly, just human rights. It's a human right violation.
Wait, Shelton, can you move a little to the side so people can see the,
They're starting to get on Speedway.
Interesting. Yeah, they are. Okay. Yeah, just move it a little to the side. No, we're fine. They're not going to come over to us.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I can see the security.
Yeah.
Well, and also, can I add something too?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's that.
Sorry, I'm texting Trevor.
Like, I know that with the.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. My name's Elijah. Nice to meet you.
Elijah?
Yes, what's your name?
More.
You're Israeli? Where in Israel are you from?
If you have the craziest headline, the craziest...
את יכולה לדבר עברית? כן? יופי, יופי.
So you're the...
אני אמריקני.
What's your name?
Eliyahu, Elijah. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
It's a great job that you're...
It is, and it's
Thank you so much. So, this is my Palestinian counterpart. His name is Jad.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Jad, J-A-D-D.
He's the one who's co-running this with me, but
you can take a seat.
These
Good
are
job
also
for you doing this, guys.
Oh,
thank you.
Sweetest.
It's really important.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
So many of us want to live in peace.
Inshallah, B'ezrat Hashem, it will be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
My generation is the generation that was...
You tried your hardest. Yeah, you had Yitzhak Rabin.
I agree. Agreed.
Yeah. So would you say after October 7th you're more pessimistic?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's saddening regardless.
I don't know. I don't live there for a long time, so... If they will ever agree to a two-state solution, yes, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Right? But as long as they don't, what can we do? We are there. What, shall we just vanish?
Yeah.
What can we do?
Yeah.
Right.
Neither people's going anywhere, so we have to find a reality that works for both.
Like, we're there. I am third, it's like,
of course.
we want to live in peace. There is no reason we shouldn't. Like, land is really nothing.
Yes. And when you die, you leave it all behind. It's like, what is it?
It's nothing.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not a religious person, so...
Sure.
I believe in life.
Yeah.
And I grew up with many Arab friends because in the 80s we had friends. You know, it's like my dad had friends. Like we went to the weddings and we ate really good food. And we shared, you know,
the culture.
We shared the culture. It's very similar in
It's the most similar of any cultures, I would say.
Absolutely. We talk about this all the time. My dad also, he grew up in Nablus in the West Bank, and he grew up with Jewish neighbors as well. And they would celebrate holidays, and you know, with all religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And you know, the unfortunate thing, obviously, was that there was still the division between both peoples. And so we talk about at our organization, Atidna International, that we believe in creating a sort of a brotherhood or a family relationship between modern-day Israelis, Palestinians, Jews, and Arabs to solidify each other as inherent family. Because we can talk about the connection.
Rudy Rockman, right?
Yes, I do.
Rudy agrees with a lot of what we're saying, because at the end of the day, it's harder to hate someone you view as a brother rather than quote-unquote the other. So that's our basic premise.
I agree.
Yeah.
And we are brothers and sisters.
We are brothers. We're closer to each other than to any other peoples on the planet.
Much more. And we love the same food.
Absolutely.
Love the same food, same music.
We love the same music.
Same all
We have a lot of the same energy.
Of course.
100%.
Of course.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a mutual understanding, and there needs to be different things done by both peoples, and it'll require collaboration, and it'll require a lot of work.
Also, like, follow us on
But
Instagram.
we're optimistic.
We'd love to have you in the future
Compromising
event.
as well.
Start talking. Always great, brother.
Absolutely.
But inshallah, one day we can say shalom aleichem, they can say salam alaikum to us. That would be the goal, right? That would be the goal.
And you even see the similarity, like
in the words I just said.
Shalom. Like it's amazing.
Hamza, Hamesh, right?
So I've never understood the division. I've never
Abraham and Abraham, right?
Religious perspective, Isaac Ishmael,
It never made sense to me. I never understood. Growing up, I used to ask my mom, I'm Iraqi, and Jewish people always lived in Iraq all the time. Like this was
for thousands
of years. Like we coexisted, and we have
friends. Where you got good food, because I'm coming from Poland, so
you got better food now.
We needed the Iraqi food.
You needed the Iraqi food. Yeah, I saw them. Yeah.
It's about to go down.
Oh, they're actually...
because they're on Speedway. Yeah, they're not letting them pass.
How are you being treated?
Just here, like in general.
Here by everybody.
I've been treated very well. I'm someone. I try to be optimistic about everything that happens in the Middle East, and I've never been treated poorly by anybody, by Palestinians or by Israelis or Jews. It's obviously a hard time for everybody. I've had extended family having to move from Gaza to Egypt, and I've had some relocate to the West Bank. Absolutely.
Do you have any that are still?
Not in Gaza, no. We just have family in the West Bank and Egypt now, and some in Jordan from a while back. But we understand that there are things that need to be done, and we understand also fundamentally that the governments don't represent the people. Obviously, ask most Israelis what they think about the Israeli government.
Right.
Most of them hate the government.
And the politics before October 7th in the Israeli government, my understanding was like brink of civil war.
Judicial.
They had some judicial issues, and now they're in an emergency government, and nobody talks about this. Nobody understands that the politics. I think there's lots of tension, but the politics of the Israeli government alone, between the Israelis themselves and the government, the Israelis weren't supportive of that government. And so to think that they're now in this emergency government.
We are a democracy, and it's a mixed
and now it's like almost bringing on dictatorship. It's like it's an emergency government, no more elections, no more any like that's I think people need to talk about that more. And this is just like representing the Israeli government representing the Israeli people with this type of government, I don't think is doing them justice.
It's also just not useful.
It's
not productive.
It's not useful for either people. Specifically.
Same thing. The Palestinian government is so divided too.
Who's this guy from?
Just media. There's media all around.
Where are you from, please?
I'm filming with these two.
Okay.
They're from New York.
Guys?
They're with us.
Yes.
I'm not
this is not like
it's not nefarious.
No.
You'll be famous. You'll be social.
That's exactly what I want to avoid.
We're trying to just show them.
Right.
Yeah. No.
So your question about how come the division? It's all about radical religion in
Sure.
each direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like if you see, the most radicals would be the super radical Orthodox Jews who believe it's their land and only their land,
which is the current government. Small churches like
and
Navir.
they should live by the Bible, and and
Yeah.
they also don't have women's rights by the way.
Sure. Yeah.
If I may, And the other side, who took
Hamas,
Islamic
they're
jihad
yeah.
is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
very
yeah.
radical. It's not all of them. It's a minority.
Yeah,
But
the majority
they
just
are
want to live with
very-
brothers.
they-
Yeah.
It's like Islam didn't develop yet out of this.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. My name's Elijah.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Sorry,
Do you want to come sit with us?
No, you're totally fine. You can say whatever you'd like.
So this is a joint dialogue initiative. I'm Jewish. Jad is Palestinian. We have other Jews and Arabs here just to have conversations on anything people want to talk about.
We try to be
It's a basic premise. And you're free to join us if you want. But
Pushing
yeah.
towards modernism.
Yeah.
People like me pushing
All good.
Judaism.
Absolutely, trying to root out extremism.
Everything's going well.
Trying to
Rodolfo, do you want to join?
understand that both people.
All right.
At the end of the day, I believe that most Israelis are good.
Sounds good. All right.
And most Palestinians are good.
See you tomorrow.
Both
See you, bud.
people
See you,
suffer
bud.
trauma that inherently puts us
You
divided.
said what?
Trauma, I'm saying.
I thought you said everybody loves shawarma.
Oh, that's also true. That's
It is.
also true.
It is true.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you know a good shawarma place in Austin?
Oh, there is a problem in Austin.
They don't have good shawarma.
There is a big problem.
crisis.
I
They
have-
don't.
my daughter is going to join UT next
Uh-huh.
year.
Oh wow.
And she
Go for it.
is in, if you make friends, my husband has a shawarma machine at home.
Oh, he can help us out over
I can
here.
introduce you
Oh my
guys.
gosh.
And,
Oh my gosh.
we might,
The special treatment.
like, yes, but there is a problem with shawarma. They'd go to like,
know, I'm like-
Houston.
It's not
Yeah.
good. I was wondering, is it only me that thinks
No,
that?
no, it's
There's-
not you.
There's like not a good Middle Eastern presence in Austin, sadly, like at all.
Not at all.
But
Like
no.
food-wise.
Food-wise, yeah, it's very sad.
Very good.
Yeah.
We have it in Dallas.
It's not.
What
I
is it?
disagree. Damascus.
Damascus. It's like an
So
all-you-can-eat
bad.
Did you hear
Eastern
about
Mediterranean.
Azov? It's a new Israeli Mediterranean
I have
restaurant.
not.
It's not new anymore, but yeah,
Wait, is
you
it-
should try it out.
Is it Israeli or is it? I know the chef is Greek Jewish. I thought because I know him because he has a restaurant called Ladino in San Antonio.
Oh,
Yeah.
we want to.
Yeah. So is it Israeli or is it specific?
Azov,
Or is it Sephardi? Yeah.
Azov is, I think, Mediterranean.
It's just
like,
Mediterranean,
The
okay,
guy is
yeah.
Israeli.
He's
but,
Israeli,
you know,
yeah.
In Israel, we make food from.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
a mix.
Yeah, I know the chef because
Most
I'm
of
Greek
it-
Jewish, so yeah,
You
we're
are?
a tight
Really?
community
You
over
do?
here. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Most
Yeah.
of the food is borrowed from.
Yes, from Greece, from Turkey.
Greece and from I think from Egypt.
100%
I
from
think
Egypt.
hummus is Egyptian.
Hummus is Egyptian, falafel is Egyptian.
Egyptian,
It's all freaking
right?
Egyptian. Yeah, it's all originally Egyptian. Yeah.
We only brought the salad. in
We
the
yeah,
morning.
exactly, exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
we just stole the Egyptian cuisine. But I'm glad we did. It's the best cuisine in the
Of
world.
course, if
yeah.
you'd stay with, with like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
my mom never touched salt.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Ashkenazi cuisine has so much salt though. I thought.
No,
My bubby
there
can't
is
use enough salt.
Ashkenazi and there is Polish.
There's
okay?
Polish.
So,
Okay,
like,
got
put
you.
it
Yeah, you're in your own
the
category.
lowest on the totem. It's like my husband says a very funny joke about my mom. He says that she has a machine, she passes the food through, and then he takes out the taste.
Yeah.
He takes out the flavor. He never told her,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, to her face, obviously, but it's a very special machine.
It is.
Yeah, we are honest in our
I've,
house.
well,
as you
that's
can
what I'm
see.
saying. I've heard though, like post during the Holocaust and stuff, like a lot of the
you didn't tell
cuisine
it to
for
her.
Ashkenazi
Yeah.
Jews were like tasteless. Like
During
it
the
had-
what? Hi,
guys.
during the
Hi.
Holocaust. and,
You're from
like,
the Daily Texan,
You know,
yes.
when they were displaced, like there was a lot of tasteless cuisine because they didn't have much
For sure.
seasoning.
Yeah.
And that cooked.
My name is Elijah Kallenberg, and that's spelled Elijah, and then Kallenberg is spelled Kahenberg.
Are any of y'all like students here?
We're
If
all
so,
students.
okay,
Yes.
can I have your year in major,
Sure.
please?
I am a junior, and I am studying Middle East Studies, Jewish Studies, and Government with a minor in Hebrew and Arabic.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Rowan, Rawan, R-A-W-A-N, last name Alpaderi, A-L-B as in boy, D as in dog, E-I-R-I, studying government, history, and Middle Eastern studies.
Hi, my name is Jad Hashem, first name Jadd, last name Hashem. I'm the Vice President of Atidna International, and I am a sophomore majoring in government, minoring in Middle Eastern Studies.
I'm Orev Kaim, Orevkaim, and I don't go. I'm just looking to
support it.
My name is Rina Amina, R-H-E-N-A. I'm an anthropology major, a minor in geography. I'm a junior here at UT.
Very nice. Very nice.
No. Awesome. Okay, so to
You
start,
can sit in. Yeah, you're fine.
to kind of
You
start
can
off,
lean in.
can you kind of explain like what Atidna is,
Sure.
like for people who may not be aware of
Yeah.
it, just like a basic.
Sure, yeah. So Atidna is a nonprofit organization. Before I explain what Atidna is, I think it's important to explain what the name Atidna means. So it combines the Hebrew word atid for future with the Arabic suffix na, which means our. So when you put the two together, it means our future. And we at Atidna have two basic goals, and we try to solidify these goals through campus chapters across the country. The one at UT is our first and founding chapter, created by me. I'm the founder. Jad is the vice president. I'm the president. Rawan and Orav are both officers. Our two goals are first to solidify that Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians are cousins, we're one family, and we're not inherent enemies. And we try to host peace events on college campuses to solidify that theme. And our second goal is to bring together both peoples to have a dialogue about anything and everything pertaining to Israel and Palestine. And so what we're doing right now is we have a booth and we have a sign, of course, that says one Palestinian, one Jew, two brothers, ask us anything. We're trying to promote dialogue, get people in a similar space to have conversations that might be tough. They might just have questions, but just to show that you can be in a space with Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians and have these conversations, especially amid the most divisive time on campus, right? We have Israel Block Party and we have the PSC protests going on right now, so it's very tense. And so we're just trying to create a space to show that our two peoples can come together and have civil conversations. So that's our basic premise for today. Yeah.
Awesome. So, why do you think it's important for Atidna to be here amongst like everything? Yeah.
Sure. So we'll start.
If you can just get it a little closer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you're good. No, you're good. I just want to
Okay,
make sure I can hear you correctly.
Yeah. So for Atidna, so our main base, of course, is here at UT Austin. We have expanded to other campuses in the United States, and we hope to expand more. Right as we're sitting here, it's during the Israeli Block Party and the Palestine Solidarity protests, and so we feel it's a good space just right now to serve as a place for students to come up to us, ask questions, talk about anything they want related to Israel-Palestine, and it provides a sort of insightful way for people to learn without any sort of fears.
Yeah.
But as a whole, Atidna's purpose is a grassroots movement formed by students, particularly at UT Austin, since we're such a large university.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we want to promote civil dialogue and actual mutual understanding for people, since many Israelis have never spoken to a Palestinian and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so at UT Austin, we feel it's incredibly important, especially with the state capital being here, that we need to make sure that people are able to listen to one another, because if we don't, then ultimately we're going to keep being divided and we're going to fall as a society.
I do have a little follow-up if I can add to that.
For sure.
I would also say this year of all years, it's also very important that the UT community as a whole be able to see a Jew and a Palestinian in the same space, in a joint space, in a civil space together. I think it's just really healthy for the community as a whole to be able to see something like this occur. So I think our work is also breaking down a lot of the fears and animosity on campus right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone else wants to add to that, please feel free. But if not,
I'll add later.
Okay, no, for
Thank
sure.
you, then.
No, yeah. So you guys have mentioned that you've had like conversations with like different people. So what like types of conversation have y'all been happening? What are like some common themes that y'all have like witnessed or like experienced? Whoever wants to start.
I can take it. So we try and host. I'll let everyone can speak on this. Everyone here's been to dialogues with Atidna in the past.
Yes, of course, no, for sure.
So Atidna tries to have dialogues about anything and everything pertaining to Israel and Palestine. Any topic is on the table. So right after October 7th, for example, we had conversations about the situation on the ground, right? What's happening? What do we need to resolve this, right? What needs to be done?
I just had the Siri on. No, you're good.
And so that's just one example, right? Our most recent dialogue was about one state, two state, or confederation, right? Fleshing out peace models that people want to talk about, what people think is most just, and the most just way to resolve this issue. So these topics also hit on culture and identity too. We had conversations that talk about how similar Jewish and Palestinian culture is. We also have conversations about history, right? We go back to 1948, talking about family experiences that both peoples had in the land during what Palestinians call the Nakba, what Israelis call the War of Independence, and we just have people talking about these family experiences. So everything's on the table in these conversations. But yeah, does anyone have like a specific conversation they want? Yeah.
Yeah, so a specific conversation that I recall having, I think it was at Nina too, is like what the definition of anti-Semitism is. I think we've kind of strayed away from like defining it, and we've kind of characterized lots of people as maybe anti-Semitic or like Islamophobic or anti-Palestinian, or like, because when you really have these sit-down conversations with people who are like-minded and are willing to have the dialogue, you start to realize that there's no hate Like, I would never imagine, like, hating a person just because of their religion or where they were born. These are all things that, like, you don't get to choose, right? And it's a political statement to start calling people these derogatory things and calling them bigoted just because they have kind of a different viewpoint than you.
Yeah.
And we really want to strive for peace and open that dialogue up. And so a lot of the definitions that we're seeing, like, is like people can't define what it means to be bigoted or anti-Semitic or anti-Palestine or like all of this stuff is like when you sit down, it's like you're not anti-anybody. You just want peace and to be able to say what you want to say without being labeled as like some bigot or Jew hater or a Palestinian hater or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's a conversation ender.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all.
That's it.
So if I can add on to that too.
Absolutely.
I think an important part of the dialogue is also to show that our two peoples are more similar than they are different in almost every aspect. The common phrase I use is to solidify that Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians are really brothers rather than the quote-unquote other. And if you're able to do that through a conversation, so for example, we were just talking with an Israeli woman, talking about how Jad's garb that he's wearing right now, a keffiyeh, has a lot of cultural similarities to the Jewish talit, right? And our languages are so similar, right? Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum, hamsa hamesh, right? In Hebrew and Arabic, respectfully. In Arabic and Hebrew, respectfully. If we were able to have these conversations about how our cultures, our identities, our histories are so intertwined and so similar, it really breaks down a lot of the dehumanization that we have for the other. Because when you're able to view someone as your family, that's when you really begin to break down the hate you have for them. So that's what we're trying to do through a lot of these conversations. Yeah.
For sure. Did you want to? Are you good?
I'm okay.
Okay, for sure. So, what do you guys think, like as an individual or like as a group, do you think is an overlooked fact, or do you think anything that people should know, like concerning this topic, that tends to be overlooked?
Yeah, I'll let the others.
Yeah, so on Israel-Palestine, there is a lot of, I find there's a lot of people who try to learn things really quick and don't take the time to break down the issue on a more, perhaps advanced level. And I say that because this is such a complicated topic. Certain parts aren't complicated, certain parts are. And I think there are too many people, maybe in the day of social media now, where people tend to just get information from TikTok or Instagram. In reality, you really have to read and you really have to listen to people, especially experts, and especially older Palestinians and Israelis. This is how I've learned a lot. I've read so many books. I've read from so many different people. I've attended many different events. And social media is a great thing, but it only goes so far. I find there to be misinformation on both sides. Elijah and I, we are pretty studied up on the topic, so we kind of can identify where there's especially exploitive media, where there's definitely leaving parts out of certain agendas. But I would say that I think people need to, one of the main things people need to understand is the identity, the two identities, firstly. And Elijah and I talk about this a lot, but many Palestinians are seen as Arab foreigners coming from Arabia, and many Jews are seen as just European religious Jews who have no right to be in the land. Ultimately, we squashed that theory by identifying how Palestinians and Israelis can both trace their ancestry back to ancient Canaanites from 2,000 years ago, and there's genetic testing to prove that. And so as a result, we want to show that both peoples need to live together. It's not just a desire, it's a necessity, because ultimately we are a family, and splitting ourselves up into two different families is only going to divide us further and only going to create further animosity. So what I would just recommend for people is really try to hone in on what scholarly experts are saying. Listen to historians, listen to political scientists, listen to people who study Middle Eastern studies, and read some books, because I think there's too many people who will look at one social media page and think they know everything off of just one slide.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
You're such too much fun.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. Also, I think a lot of people, when you just look at one type of media, and also people who don't necessarily have emotional ties and like ties to the issue, people get like they're picking football teams almost like because if someone doesn't have skin in the game, essentially, people are less likely to at times look towards peace and more look towards what makes them feel
not practical.
Yeah, exactly. Not practical things. And it's, at the end of the day, it's not football teams. It's real people, millions of real people.
Yep.
No, absolutely. And to kind of wrap things up, so have y'all been to previous block parties and events like this? And if so, is this event different for you guys, especially with everything going on?
Yep.
And that kind of stuff.
So I would say I don't really enter either the block party or the protests, but I have seen them in action before. And this year is obviously different, right? After October 7th, everyone was going to assume that this was going to be the most tense year on UT's campus in history. And it kind of is. It really is. This year especially is very different. By just looking around, you can see that there's a whole hostage memorial on the entirety of Speedway. In years prior, PSC would be directly across from the IBP tent, protesting against them directly. So this year you can tell that there's definitely some geographic divides. But the tension on campus, I would say, is the most palpable difference in years past. There's just so much hatred and so much animosity and so much tribalistic division, and I think that's what we need to overcome. And we hope an event like this through Atidna can help do that. We've also had events after October 7th that have tried to push this theme. So for example, on November 7th, Atidna held the only joint vigil in the entirety of the U.S. South on any college campus by the tower to honor all innocent Israelis and Palestinians who have been taken since October 7th. So it's just our basic premise to really unify our two peoples amid such a polarizing tribalistic time. So yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Other than that, I don't have any other questions. If y'all have any other like comments or words you would like to share, please feel free. But
I think we all know that coexistence can be possible when you start to rationalize and humanize the other side.
Yep.
For me, I think I never was able to understand, like, I'm not Israeli or Jewish or Palestinian, I'm Arab, but I think I've never was able to understand the divide, and maybe it's because I don't have a personal, like, view in it or, like, a personal stake. I just think, like, if somebody is your neighbor, like, and they're Israeli or they're Jewish or they're Palestinian, like, this automatic loathing or, like, portrayal of hate in the media that I've seen, I think is inaccurate. I think there's a lot of people who coexist in Israel who are Palestinian and who are Israeli and Jewish, and they advocate for peace and they advocate for coexisting. They don't want what's going on currently. And if you also look at the Israeli government before October 7th, there was a lot of tension with the Israelis in particular towards their own government. And a lot of that isn't, like, they're an emergency government, they're not allowed to have elections anymore, and that's not fair to the Israeli people at all, you know? And nobody talks about the Israeli government or how the Israelis themselves have tension towards it. And they're a democracy, and what's going on right now, they say, is on the brink of dictatorship. And I think we need to give a voice to the voiceless. It's less about being Palestinian versus Israeli and more about what we have in common. And like Elijah said it earlier, Salam alaikum in Arabic, and then Shalom alaikum Shalom alaikum in Hebrew. Like even the language, even the history, it's so similar, and it has so much history. And so like we have like ties to each other, bloodlines, and I don't understand hating somebody that way. It never made sense to me.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Just before I wrap things up, do you guys have like an email or like a number of contact just to verify?
Just on our Instagram. That's how we do them. Yeah,
Okay.
Atidna_international.
Probably the best way to reach us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your work.
All right. Anyone who wants to join, feel free to join the conversation.
Oh, I love that you're having the conversation.
You guys are so sweet.
If you want to take a seat, you
Oh
can.
my God, you'd have to kick me out.
You guys are so sweet.
We initially said 10 minutes per person, but you know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Serious.
We're really trying to show that.
No, that's a very rational take. I find the same thing. You have
He's
to
loved
choose a
Hashem.
side.
Yeah.
Any call against you is immediately
Humanity.
From humanity.
Love.
Yeah.
From coexistence.
Rather than hatred, rather than
These are
yeah.
How it comes to outside.
Thank you.
you know, trivial.
So you hit it spot on the head. Yeah.
So good for you
Toda.
for making this table.
Toda
You're
rabba.
putting yourself right in the middle.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole point.
I want everybody around your
goal
table.
Sure.
is to make, like, duplicate this table.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Inshallah, B'ezrat Hashem, that would be fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inshallah, there's
B'ezrat
Hashem.
Hashem. That would be amazing.
For you all to have the courage too to
Yeah.
like participate.
Yeah.
And be part of it.
Well, you know, Elijah and I.
I'm assuming by what you're wearing.
He's
Oh, yeah.
Palestinian. He's Palestinian.
I'm Palestinian. I'm Palestinian. Elijah and I are such good friends, and we never thought our identities would be something to tear us apart whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we ultimately believe at Atidna International, our organization, that we need to fundamentally see ourselves as family over anything else, because division at its core, it only causes us to fall further apart.
Yeah.
A lot of work needs to be done for both peoples on different things, but we ultimately think that these sort of initiatives can help.
Yeah.
And it takes new generations to make that happen.
And the conversation is how we solidify that. When Jad and I have a conversation, we understand the Palestinian identity and the Jewish identity is more similar to each other than to any other identities, right? Rowan just used the example. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum, right? Our languages are so similar. Jad's wearing a keffiyeh. If you look at the Jewish talit, right, you can see the similarities in our cultural garbs, in our music, in our dance, and everything. Our identities are so similar, and only a conversation can reveal that. So that's why we think these kind of events are so important. That's how you build peace.
What is the meaning of the word Atidna?
So Atid is future, but Na is our in Arabic, so it means our future.
Na is what in Arabic?
Our. It's a suffix for our, so it means our future.
Our future.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is him.
She does public relations.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
We should mention there is an organization in Israel.
It's all in the
Ken.
linguistic.
100%. That's how you build bridges, because they're both Semitic languages, and we can show that when it works so perfectly, that's when you can get both peoples to really coalesce. Yeah, language is so important in all of this, 100%.
We agree.
Yeah. Toda raba. Sorry, you're so sweet.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
Good
for you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Appreciate it.
Do you mind if we get a picture with the flag and the kippah together? I would love that.
All right, I'd love that.
Group
I would.
picture?
Yeah.
Where are you from when you said that you're Arab? And
I'm originally
You're
from
here, Elijah?
I'm from San Antonio. My grandma's Israeli.
אז זה כאילו ממש...
Ken Mamash. My grandma is from Haifa, but she moved to Canada. My mom was born in Canada, and I was born in Texas.
אז born and raised here.
Born and raised, yeah.
וואו.
Yeah.
טוב, אנחנו מחליפים מספרי טלפון. Sure?
Sure, yeah. Yoffi. Yonatan. Sorry.
Oh, how are you? Good to see you.
Beautiful. Let's get one of you and Jad together. Yeah.
Go over here?
Yeah.
You as well. No.
I'll stay in the middle. I'll stay in the middle.
Can I take your picture? Okay, that's so.
Moving around now. There's some
לא,
moving parts to
תקשיב,
this.
זה לא יאומן.
How are you, buddy?
לדעתי, הם בהלם ממה שקורה פה עכשיו.
כן.
אני חושבת...
יאללה.
לדעתי, הם בשוק. תראי איך הם בשקט.
You forget that I don't speak Hebrew.
Okay, sorry. I think they're in shock.
I don't know. I just was told to come over.
All right. They're completely in shock. Mamash bishok.
Who are we looking at?
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Okay.
The picture is from behind.
Yeah. You took one?
They're very religious, right? They believe that God gave them.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. How we doing?
Good. How's it going?
So they felt like they are being failed to fulfill their prophecy, right?
Yes.
So
Sure.
and they like the soldiers dragged them from their home.
Yeah.
Like it's like they wanted to do it with respect. They wouldn't go, so they had to pick them up.
Sure.
Oh,
They
are you
physically
kidding
removed
me?
them.
They were
Yeah. Out of Gush Katif. Yeah.
And but the thing was that like it was done,
Yeah.
right? So like and we were crying tears out because we saw that there was a chance for peace.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot of agriculture infrastructure left.
Yeah.
Tons, because it was very prolific area for agriculture.
Yeah.
And then Hamas came and ruined everything and burned all the greenhouses. It could have been a great economic development for Palestinians. Like they could outsource fruits and vegetables to the world. They could build. They could enjoy this.
Yeah.
But when radical religion comes in, they don't believe they can.
On both sides, because now you're having the emphasis.
Absolutely.
We need to resettle Gaza, because look what happened in 2005. We had security, they're saying now, but now we need to put settlers back to regain the security, the advantage we had. But also they're saying we need all of Eretz Israel. It needs all ours. So yeah.
The Israeli population is torn exactly around that.
Yeah.
Like settlers.
We need settlers in Gaza.
To have the whole.
Yeah.
They are relatively a much smaller minority than the radical on the sadly on the Palestinian side. That's how I feel. Like the liberal, democratic prime ministers were like more common in Israel for many years before Netanyahu.
Yeah. But now he's dominated. He's longer than Ben Gurion.
He's working in division.
Sure,
that's
exactly.
what he's doing. Working in division. There is a very known say that he said to a very big rabbi in Israel like 20 years ago.
Sure.
He told them the left don't know how to be Jews.
Yeah.
This is what he told. This is what he told us.
Yeah. 100%.
And they don't serve, they don't serve to protect the country. And again, we prefer not. We don't want to protect. We want to live in peace.
You just want to live in peace. You'd rather not go and die, right? You'd rather just live with your Palestinian brothers and sisters and have peace.
Yes. And
Why should you go and die? Yeah, there's no reason to. Yeah. Judaism's highest value is preserving life. Why should we be killing each other? It makes no sense. Yeah. It's 100%. We know how to be Jews because we're not wanting to kill each other. They're the ones who are not Jewish, right? You're the ones who are killing.
In the United States, though, for example, like the Republican Party literally said, if you're not voting Republican, then you're not basically Jewish enough. Am I getting that correct?
Correct.
Trump said this.
Trump said that you're not a real Jew unless you don't
vote Republican.
That's a crap division.
Yeah, bullshit.
Really.
100%
that's another
bullshit.
thing where it's like, you're saying this.
How come we are all liberals? We all believe in. I am sitting here and saying, we believe in human values. We believe in women's rights. We believe in LGBTQ rights. I believe like we believe in human values. And how come the people who believe in the same values sit across the table in this way?
I know.
Doesn't make sense. It's the religion. Because the Orthodox religions don't believe in women's rights and LGBTQ rights and you know what.
Yeah. It's very sad. I have an interesting perspective because I did live in the West Bank on a Palestinian farm for around 3 months.
Did?
Yes, but it was right next to a settlement. So I had the most religious of religious settlers, and then I was also with the pretty religious, but he's not extremist at all, Palestinian named Khalid, and he owned the farm.
And he had goats?
Sorry?
He had goats?
He had goats, he had sheep, he had everything. I sheared sheep all summer, definitely an experience.
My family, he was a goat herder.
Goat herder, oh my gosh. But just being in that environment, it's so palpable, right? You can feel the tension because there's a road where both Palestinians and Jews have to drive on to get to their respective farms. And there's an IDF outpost right there, and then you take a wrong turn and it could be something else. It's just so palpable, and it's just, to me, it's very sad how divided it is. I wish more people could be unified, right? Being able to be in the same common space. But there's just so much division and segregation that it's almost impossible.
They're moving over here. Where are they going?
They're slowly but surely elevating. It's nonviolent. Sure.
It's super okay.
Like 5 minutes before the security gets involved.
Yeah.
It's only gonna make things more heated.
Sure.
You think the security's gonna?
Wait, he's escorting them. Is he not?
Yeah, he's blocking them from coming to the.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I heard it last year. They were very, very, very threatening to the.
They're holding signs that say, I think it says. Ceasefire?
So there's a bunch of signs, yeah. Some of them are for ceasefire. Some of them are, just chants, yeah.
Those kids over there didn't do anything to them.
Yeah.
Blame all Jews is like.
I'm glad that the cops are.
This is where it dips into what we talk about as anti-Semitism.
Yeah. On campus, though, it's been a very tense environment because I don't know how well you're aware, but 3 Israelis from Houston came to a PSC meeting and essentially harassed them. They called them terrorists.
Really?
They said, you said you're all terrorists, and they said they were going to go to be in Israel next week and they're going to kill Arabs.
Wow.
So the Palestinians haven't had it easy on campus either, sadly. It's been such a tense environment.
They have what?
They haven't had an easy time on campus. It's been hard for them as well. And Hillel was vandalized. It hasn't been easy for Jewish students either, but it's just the most tense time on campus. But that's why something like this is so important. You can bring together both people's.
You guys, not enough people come.
I know. We don't need the biggest outing. We want like one person at a time, 2 people at a time. We like these small interactions.
There's I think about 20 people came to the last Atidna meeting.
Sure. Yeah, we have dialogue sessions. Yeah.
And we have one tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Can we donate to you guys so you have good food so people will come?
The food brings people in, but typically we don't serve food.
Right?
Always. Tamid. Yeah, exactly.
Hey! Come. Okay. You want to come? This is a Jewish guy, Israeli guy I met.
He's Israeli.
In
Ahlan, Habibi. How are you?
I'm shocked at them.
My name's Elijah.
All the way there. That's crazy.
How are you?
Look at them. This is a group that's.
I love your keffiyeh, Achi. It's beautiful.
I like it too.
Yeah. Do you want to come sit down?
It makes you.
Great to have you, brother.
What's your name?
I'm Mike.
Mike?
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Jad.
Nice to meet you.
These are my friends, Rawan.
Oh, that's not my phone.
This is Orev, and this is my friend Khadija. And Rena. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet everyone.
So you're Israeli?
No, I'm not Israeli.
You're not Israeli, but you are Jewish?
Yeah, I'm Jewish from Florida.
You're Sephardic?
Oh. No, from Florida.
Oh, from Florida.
Yes.
Oh, Yofi. And what's your story? What's your story, brother?
I grew up, my parents are Ashkenazim from Eastern Poland. The Western Ukraine area.
Yeah.
My great grandparents came over in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Parents that moved to Florida.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Jewish community of South Florida.
Yeah.
Going to a Jewish school. Most of the people I knew growing up were Jewish. We had Hebrew teachers from Israel.
Yeah.
So a lot of exposure to Israeli culture.
For sure.
I played tennis at the JCC all the time. So I was in the Jewish community.
You're very involved. Yeah.
And I was also really into into politics. I would watch C-SPAN from the time I was like 12.
Yeah.
But I really
they never would have.
had no idea what was going on over there.
Sure, exactly.
I guess there was no internet when I was a little kid.
There was no internet, and probably the school system you were in taught you one narrative. Yeah, they weren't teaching about the Palestinian perspective.
I was born in 1980, so the internet came in when I was in high school.
Yeah, very late on.
But when I was in middle school, we didn't have that. And then, with the first 5 years of the internet, we're looking at other stuff.
Sure.
As teenagers, obviously. So.
Yeah.
I almost went on Birthright when I was 16.
Okay.
But there was just something, it seemed a little cultish about it.
Sure.
So.
Did you find an issue because Palestinians did not have the same right to just travel to the land? Is that what the issue was?
I didn't know anything about that at that time.
Got you.
I just went to one orientation.
Yeah.
It seemed like a group think kind of a thing. And I thought, you know what, I'd just rather go on my own.
Rather go on your own, yeah. See the land for yourself. Learn for yourself.
But only in my last year of college at the University of Florida, I met people protesting Israel, and I thought, well, I always heard Israel is just defending itself, and do they hate Jews or something?
Sure.
I thought I'll go talk to them.
Yeah.
And this guy from the West Bank said, well, my family was thrown out.
A Palestinian? In 48, you mean, during the Nakba?
Well, he had family members in 48 and 67 that were thrown out.
Got you.
And he said, and he explained all the things that happened to me. They said, that sounds like what happened to indigenous people here.
Sure.
And I said, well, they never taught us about that. And all they said, I remember in 6th grade, we had Mrs. Sharp, who had been in the Israeli Air Force. She said there was an Arab radio broadcast, and so they said, leave and we'll kill all the Jews. And so because they left, they sided with the enemy and they have no right to come back. And at that time, I was like, that sounds kind of weird. But we just passed over it and never came up again.
Yeah.
Until then. And this guy said, it seemed like he's telling the truth, so I thought I'll look into this.
Sure.
And I never heard about this. And so there was a class on Israeli politics at UF. And I took that, and it was taught by the head of Hillel at UF. And he starts off saying, I have family in Israel. I'm an Israel supporter. I'm a Zionist.
Sure.
But I'm going to teach the class, as impartially as I can, and I'm not going to push my opinion on you. I'm just going to teach you, give you the facts, and you can have your own opinions about it. And he actually did that.
Wow.
So, ironically, because of that class, I totally changed my thinking on it.
Yeah.
We're looking at this table now.
Hopefully more come.
He gave a census from each year, from 47, 48, 49, and I saw 750,000 people just disappeared.
Yes. Yeah.
And then looking at it, I said, okay, those people didn't just happen to leave because of radio broadcast or whatever. And even if they did, refugees in a war have a right to come back.
Yeah.
The refugees from the Syrian war, you can't keep them out of Syria. They have a right to go back.
They have a right to return.
Yeah. Even if they're not thrown out, just refugees could go back.
Even beyond that, their identity, their culture is tied to this land.
Right.
So,
Ukrainians who believe they could.
Yeah, from Russia, they have a right to go back to Ukraine. They're tied to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%. I'm like, they have a right to go back. I saw they had to have been forced out intentionally.
Yes.
Because I said if those people were still there, there would not have been a Jewish majority, and there would not be possible to have a Jewish democracy.
Yeah.
They had to get rid of those people to have their state.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well then the state is made possible by ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
I can't support that. Like, if
Sure.
I believe in human rights,
sure,
that's not
but
okay.
You know that there was a war before that as well. Like like as soon as the declaration of Israel came, they tried to, destroy Israel immediately and wouldn't allow. Another state to exist.
I think, if I can add in, I think what most scholars say is that most of the Palestinians were more or less expelled before the Arab armies came in, but many Israeli historians specifically say the Arab armies came in to prevent more Palestinians from leaving, more or less, right, from being expelled. So it's an interesting variable. The Palestinian issue is more independent from the war aspect, if that makes sense. So he's pretty right. It was a premeditated initiative, more or less, to drive a good amount of Palestinians out. So there was the Deir Yassin massacre, and from there, Irgun, Haganah, and Lehi, all these groups were handing out leaflets saying, "Oh, this might happen to you. Like, flee for your safety." So there was an intentional basis to try and push out a good amount of the Palestinian population. And there's documents, right? Plan Dalet was a plan by the IDF in this regard to achieve some of these aims. But it's a very dark history. But it's something that Israelis have to learn about and reconcile. It is a dark part of our past, but I don't think it's something that can impede both of our peoples living together. I think Palestinians are very forgiving in that regard, and I think it's something that can be bridged in the future. Inshallah, B'Zat Hashem, with the right of return, with all these other issues being addressed. But yeah, 100%. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. I have to go, guys.
That's
Thank
okay.
you good to
It's so
see
sweet.
you.
It's so sweet.
You are great to do that. Just remember to keep I talked to you briefly. I talked to him briefly recently, and what the sentence you said about the right of return and everything. It would have been great if it would have been possible without the Jews feeling like they would be
A minority in the land.
No, not a minority. They would
Unsafe.
be killed.
Yeah.
Or exterminated like they have been in all of the Arab countries that expelled them, from Iraq, Morocco, Yemen, all the Arab countries expelled them out. So they didn't have anywhere to go. So if it would have been possible to live in peace, and there is, with the 25% Arabs that live in Israel, there is tension, but there is some peace. If it would have been, but I thought I thought at the time when you told me that, I thought later that it's a little bit naive to think that they would allow us to live next to them without trying to that's.
Well, let me say something about that. Look, if the right of return is granted, then Zionists will be outnumbered, and Israel will turn into Palestine.
Zionists, it's simply Jews that have the right, they feel the right, they have to be able to live on their ancestors' land.
I think we agree on that. Yeah, that's the definition.
Taken away. It's a good thing.
Well, okay, well, you could, whatever your opinion you have of it. Or just wait a second. So people who believe they have a right to be there because they're Jewish, all right? Basically. So those people, if Palestinians have the right of return, those people will be a minority, and Israel will turn into Palestine. Okay. So here's the thing: people who want Jews to have a country have to say the Palestinians are going to kill us off if we let them return, because if they let them return, they're not going to have the state that they want.
No, it's just an experience, man. Come on, it's an experience. We lived in I told him I grew up with Arabs a lot. We had friends. There's no issue, right?
Okay.
But experience says that eventually, if the radical groups are dominating, they are not accepting any compromise, right? So if you would have had an option to compromise, there are 12 times where the offers to divide the land for to share.
Can I ask you one question? So let's say that you could show that the Palestinians are very nice and forgiving, and they're not going to kill all the Jews if they have the right of return.
Just like the Germans showed in 1920 before they turned.
Wait.
Don't forget.
Okay. Whatever the Germans did is not evidence for Palestinians.
For sure.
Okay. So let's just say that you took care of that issue, and the Palestinians.
Let me ask you that. Go to Gaza and ask them if they want to live in peace with us.
Wait, I didn't get to the question.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm not. You could disagree that that's the case now. I don't agree with you, but whatever. Let's just say that issue is eliminated. They're not going to kill all the Jews.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
How you doing? I'm Mike.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice to meet you. So let's say you could show that if you let Palestinians return, they're not going to kill all the Jews, but they're still going to vote to make it Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't you see how the Zionists, they would have nothing else to argue their case if they don't tell people the Palestinians are going to kill all the Jews.
You think that? So I don't know. Like, is it naivete, or like, let's say that they will vote for Palestine and then they will kill all the Jews? So like, is that a problem? Don't you think it's?
Well, obviously that would be a problem if that happened. But the idea that will happen.
But the experience we have, they didn't want to compromise since 1947. Why would we believe otherwise? We thought in the 2000s that they will compromise.
Yeah, I'll just say with the issues of compromise in 1948 with Oslo, I would say if I were Palestinian, I would never compromise, right? If I had access to Haifa, if I had access to the Galilee, and suddenly that was all taken away from me, why would I want to divide this land?
It's not taken away from me. It's from some of you, right?
From some of them, sure. There was still 20%.
Okay, well, what you just did though, you said the fact that they don't want to compromise by having partition, the fact that they don't support partition, you connected that, well, then we should assume they want to kill all the Jews.
No. Wait. Look at what they say. They say, like, if you look at, they don't believe that Israel has right to exist until they
I don't either.
accept that. Until they accept it, it's not possible. And Israel is there, and it's a Jewish democratic state in deep trouble.
Okay, but we're going in circles here because look.
So you believe that we should just believe them?
No. I'm saying if you the premise that Israel has a right to exist, that's saying even if the Palestinians were the most peaceful people, they don't have a right to return and vote to make it Palestine. That's not democracy.
This is what happens. You know that I told you, as when all the Jews were exterminated out of all of Europe, all the Arab land, all the Arab states, they were the most hated group all over. For thousands of years, suffering from
in Europe.
In Europe, and not in Arab, in all of the Arab states.
I'm Moroccan. I cannot come back to Morocco. It's an Arab state. I'm Moroccan. I can't come back to there.
That doesn't mean it's right. I would say you should be allowed to go.
It's not right, but it's the only place we have that there's not going to be this, like, that we're not
the whole Middle East is like an Arab state. Why, like, this little place? New
Jersey.
It's
I'll tell you why.
Little than Jersey.
I'll tell you why. But look, because there's two ways to approach this. Zionists are approaching this from a tribalistic standpoint. We're saying the Arabs have this or the Muslims have this. Why can't we have this? I'm approaching it from individual human rights, which I think that's different than tribalism. So if you talk,
which will turn on its head very quickly.
So if you talk about basic human rights means individual human rights.
Yes.
I believe the way we deal with past human rights violations is to insist on supporting human rights and not to try to balance it with other human riutes violations.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. Israel is the only place in the whole, like, I understand that you're Jewish. Have you been in Israel? No, never.
So can I
explaining why?
Can I also?
Okay, just a minute.
Sorry. I never went to Nazi Germany either, but I know what happened there is wrong.
Yeah, but it's not the same. Like, I'm a fourth generation to Holocaust survivors and a third generation to Holocaust survivors, and I'm also a survivor of the Nova Festival. I was there. I was on the run for 12 hours.
Wow.
So I was literally there when it happened.
Yes, we have. I remember.
4 of my friends are still being kidnapped in Gaza.
Absolutely, you can ask whatever.
I can show you the pictures. So I'm speaking to a lot of non-Jewish people just to explain them. If you are like, it's not about Palestinians and Jews, it's about Israel is the only country in the whole Middle East that supports human rights. It's the only place it supports human rights. You don't have women rights in Palestine. You don't have. You can't be an LGBTQ in Palestine. You know what they're doing to LGBTQ people? You can Google it. They're hanging you. So it's about supporting the only liberal place that exists in the Middle East. You know?
I would say
because I saw in my eyes.
Yeah.
I was witnessing how my friends. I was dancing. I came to the Nova Festival. I wasn't in the IDF. I was doing nothing. I just came to dance. I was dancing barefoot.
Sure.
You know how many hours it took me to run away? 12 hours.
Yeah.
I saw so much of my friends getting killed in front of my eyes. in front of my eyes. They just slaughter them. I was hiding 6 hours in Be'eri in the bathroom. You know what I was hearing outside the bathroom? How they're raping people, how kids are begging for their lives. Kids, little kids. So you say to me that those people are the people I should make peace with them? Because all the people that were living in the kibbutzim, in Be'eri and all this area, they were always about peace. They took Gazan kids to hospitals, they took care of them, they let them into their houses, and you know what they did? They did a maps of their houses, so when they came to slaughter them, they really had a list with the names and the places and like maps how the
they planned it out. They
built.
had information. Sure.
So for me, and I think most of the Israelis think the same, because everybody in here just saying Israel is an apartheid, but all of my friends, like half of my friends are Muslims and Arabs, and they're living in Israel, and they have exactly the same rights as me. The only problem in Gaza is the Hamas, is their government. And when you support a terror organization that kills kids, elderly, and you know what IDF did?
No, I don't think anyone here, neither of them supports what Hamas did. I don't think anyone here supports what Hamas did. I have cousins that were taken to Gaza, thankfully got out, but I don't think anyone here supports what Hamas did. But I think it's also, there's 2 points. So first, on the point of apartheid, right? There needs to be a distinction between the Arabs in Israel and those in the West Bank and those in Gaza.
There is 3 million Arabs in Israel.
And they have the right to vote, they have democratic rights, but those same rights are not applied necessarily to those in the West Bank, right? I lived in the West Bank on a Palestinian farm. I had to go through checkpoints every day. It is not...
Really? Where?
My father grew up in the West Bank. I can tell you he's correct. I can just tell you this.
I lived on a farm called Merkaz Karama, the Dignity Center. It's a farm based next to Gush Etzion, which is a very famous settlement.
I know.
So they have a group called Roots, and it brings together Jews and Arabs, Israelis and Palestinians. This is the only place in the entirety of the West Bank where our two peoples can meet, right? The fact that that's the only place where two peoples can meet shows it's a divided society, right? There is division. And the fact that the division exists by law, that is inherently based on ethnicity and by nationality. That is, to me, an apartheid system.
But you know why? Because Israel is a liberal place when people have basic human rights and you treat them like an individual and not like a group. So when people don't ally with this, like all this human rights and all this agenda, so they're not living in Israel. Because we believe in human rights, we believe in women rights, we believe in LGBTQ rights. They don't.
But you say we, but I feel like it's only a very specific sect of Israel. Tel Aviv isn't the same as Jerusalem.
I was living in Jerusalem. I'm living in Ashkelon.
I went through Mea Shearim every day and I got a rock thrown at me.
The data that we have, the opinion. I mean,
Sure.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about the data of what Israelis think. The majority of Israelis,
I got the chickens first.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
You want a chicken?
I think we both want a chicken.
And you wanted beef? Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry. Continue. Sorry.
No, he was
speaking. What we know is the majority of Israelis are, for the most part, are okay with going into Gaza and killing Palestinians, frankly. And so, you know...
From where do you know this?
The data that we have.
Most people believe that there's not enough...
Which data?
This is data just off of polling from multiple...
Where?
AP News, I think.
Where?
This is from many sources.
Yeah, but which sources? Who give you the sources?
These are
who
from
want
Western
you?
sources.
Who want you to believe?
The Jerusalem Post posted one of these.
But Western sources, like in Arab states,
this is
that
not
want you to believe
this
in
is the
some
Associated Press.
things.
This is the Associated Press.
This is like American Western.
This is also the Times of Israel that posted this.
What is Times of Israel? We don't have this.
It's a news source in Israel. It's like the main one. It's the main one.
I mean, I'm sorry, but this is a very mainstream network I'm talking about. This is, you know, I mean, that's
But you get your news from like stuff like this.
Yeah, it's
like,
not like Al
who's
Jazeera.
paying
Yeah,
for
this is Israeli.
Who are you getting your news from?
I'm living in Israel, so
My father
I
lived in
know
the
what
West
is
Bank.
happening.
My family lives in Palestine. They say the same thing.
You talk to many people who go through the elementary school system who are Israeli and who grow out of Israel or who move, and he'll tell you that there are biases in the teachings, in the textbooks. So to suggest stress that there aren't biases in both sides. I mean, there are, right? And
Absolutely.
I have all the love in the world for you to have escaped, which you have escaped.
Thank you for coming, by the way. I really appreciate it.
That. I think it's vile. It's disgusting that anybody had ever
It's
done.
much more than disgusting.
Yes.
To see my friends being beheaded, it's much more than disgusting.
We agree on this. We agree on this 100%.
Absolutely. I think it deserves all the condemnation in the entire world. It is not human. It's not normal.
Yeah,
right?
but those civilians that living in the West Bank, what they did on October 7th.
The West Bank didn't go.
They did. They did all these rallies and they gave everybody candies to celebrate what they did.
I think there's an elephant in the room.
I will show you. I will just show you.
First of all, let's just stick. First of all, to the idea that there aren't biases on both sides. You see it all over. It's like the extreme views are the only ones that are being regurgitated into the media. This is to have a middle stance and say that I want my fellow Israelis and my fellow Jews, and my fellow Palestinians and Arabs to just love each other and coexist without killing each other is not a. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be controversial.
I'm here.
Right?
I'm doing my own thing.
It's not anti-Semitic
We're between y'all.
to think that I want an Arab person
It's going well.
to
So far, so
coexist
good. Yeah.
with a Jew person, and
But
it's
that's
not.
what we're doing in Israel. For a very long time. Like, as I said, I have a lot of Arab friends. They are Muslims, strict Muslims,
but we're like, no, we
and
can
they're
be
like
here.
really
Like,
close to me, and
Rabbi
they're
Andy
friends of
showed me the
mine.
text, so like, okay.
And they're lucky. They're lucky to be in Israel.
It's amazing.
But that's not most Palestinians' experience.
When I saw this, I was like,
There's
nice.
a range of
I like there's a little bit of like this merger, like
Yes,
I want to
we're
ask
intentionally
like,
between.
Food shows
and then like
the government in Palestine, like we gave them, like we offered them the two-state solution, like for 17 times a year.
It's so much better how it was.
Something like this, yeah. And they declined, and declined.
Okay,
And then
I agree with them.
here's the thing.
yeah, but they're thinking that we should be dead, and they're the only one who needs to be this land.
Okay,
Finally, we can connect.
I can tell you that the Palestinians do not want Jewish people dead. Do you think the majority of Palestinians want Jewish people dead?
Well, then great to have you tomorrow, but I know.
This is what they're saying to us. They're doing the rallies in Israel about how they want to kill us. When people
it's
here
been
are
actually pretty good right now.
from the river to the sea, I'm living between the river and the sea.
Okay, look, I have it right here. I have it right there.
So where do you want me to go? To Morocco?
Okay,
I'm
wait,
Moroccan.
wait,
I'm in Arab.
Wait a minute.
I don't want you to go anywhere.
Wait,
sorry, I'm trying to
okay,
like
what?
So what do you mean when you say from the river to the sea?
Freedom.
It
means equal rights for Palestinians.
Okay, look.
This is fine. I'm sorry. I'm not giving you a lot.
It's
נכון.
נוצר פה מצב של אחת מול הרבה.
כן,
זה יוצר אינטנסיטי.
ממש, נכון.
אז I'm saying,
That's what they need to make in the
We'll calm it down.
Nova,
We'll calm it down.
so it's not really.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll keep it calm.
Okay.
We'll keep it calm. נכון.
We aren't disagreeing with you. I think we agree with you on a lot of the things that you're saying, and I have all the love in my heart for the people who went through what you had gone through. But we are saying that there is room for dialogue for us to have a conversation where I am not yelling at you and you're not yelling at me. We can coexist in a way that we have peace, and that's what we're trying to advocate for. We don't advocate for kicking Jews out of Israel. That's not something that we advocate for.
Because you're living in here.
Yeah, but please let her speak. We're not yelling out from the river to the sea. We're not saying kill the Jews. I love Jews. I love Elijah.
Best friend is a Jew.
We all love each other. This is, and maybe I understand it less because I'm not Palestinian or Israeli, so I'll give you that. But for me to look at it from an unbiased perspective and say that I want you to coexist with my fellow Muslims, it shouldn't be controversial. And I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you went through an experience at the festival and you watched and you heard the most gruesome things in the world. And I have no idea what that's like. I am disgusted by it. It makes me want to vomit, and it's so disgusting. And I personally advocate for the condemnation of Hamas and what they did. And I will it's not to take away from the fact that I want to coexist with my fellow Jews.
I agree with you. I really agree with you, and I think that we really want to coexist. But when there is one side that is always trying to find a solution to coexist, and the others,
it's only one side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what about
definitely.
what about Itamar? Sorry, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Smotrich. Who are these figures, right? I wouldn't say they're people who want to coexist. They're people who want to dominate the entire land for themselves.
Who?
You're
talking about the Palestinians.
I'm talking about the current Israeli government. Bibi Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich. These are not figures championing what you're saying.
I am not my government.
Exactly.
You need, and people need to understand this. Israelis are not their government.
Same with Palestinians and Hamas.
Wait a minute, I'm speaking.
Sorry.
Wait a minute,
Sorry.
I'm speaking.
Slicha. Go. Sorry.
And I'm not trying to speak shit about my government because I agree with a lot of things they do and I disagree with a lot of things that they do, but it's not about my political perspective.
Sure.
It's about that we coexist in Israel. Arabs, Muslims, Christians, a lot of other authentic. And the other side, when they're living, as you said, at the West Bank or Gaza, we really tried to coexist. We put so many solutions for us to coexist. But you know what they did each time? They did a terror attacks on us. And they're still doing this. Every day there is a terror attack in Israel. Every day. With those people you said that I can coexist with them.
Yeah.
I want to coexist with them, but they want to kill me. So we're not the same.
Wait a minute.
The education in Gaza is about teaching little young kids on how to kill Jews. If you will go to Gaza and ask a little boy what he wants to do, he will say, when I be grown up, I want to kill Jews.
Not to kill Jews, you want to be shahid.
According to you.
To kill and
just
be
a minute. For them, you know what is shahid, right?
Shahid is a martyr.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for them, it's about I will just sum it up. If they, I think Golda said it, if they will love their kids the way Israel loved their kids, we could live in peace. But they hate their kids because they telling them, okay, you need to do terror attacks, go to be shahid, go to slaughter people. We don't do this. We in Israel, we have a real stuff to do. We want to achieve goals, we want to be successful in lives. They don't do this. The education system in Gaza is teaching little kids how to murder. In Israel, we learn math, we learn English. You see my English? I learned it from school. So I think our values are not the same, and this is really important thing that people need to understand, because our values are not the same. We tried for so many years to do peace and to coexist, but each time they stabbed us with a knife in our hearts. Each time.
Let him respond. No, we didn't interrupt. So now he gets uninterrupted.
All right, there's a big elephant in the room here. So the whole way we look at the situation depends on the premise that we're starting with and what we think is true. So you keep saying, well, Israel is a liberal democracy. In Israel, people have equal rights, or whatever. Everybody can vote at least and run for office. Citizens can vote and run for office, and
there are Muslims in the government.
Right. Okay, there's Muslims in the Knesset, but the thing that's not being looked at is the two-state solution never happened. Whoever you think should have made a deal at any time, you could have that opinion. But the reality is the two-state solution never happened. What that means is it's all under control of one state. So to say that this state is a liberal democracy that supports human rights, they're controlling those areas with millions of non-Jews that do not have equal rights. They're kept separate, treated different based on ethnicity and religion, and that is apartheid. That's oppression. So when you have apartheid and oppression, you're going to have, which none of us agree with, but you're going to have some people that react with terrorism. That's what's going to happen. That's what you're going to have.
Some people.
Some people, yes.
Some people, most of the people.
I don't think most Palestinians would be.
No.
I don't think most would devolve to terror attacks. No, the majority. I've lived with Palestinians. I know they're not like that. That's not how they are. You're taking the most extreme of extreme.
Sir,
go ahead.
I mean, do you think that I want to kill Jews?
He's Palestinian.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you think I want to kill myself? This says from the river to the sea, right here.
You know what's the sign on your hands?
What's that?
You don't know what it means?
What's it?
This?
The red hands.
Yeah, all Americans who pay taxes, and I grew up supporting Israel. I grew up going to a Jewish school. I grew up supporting Israel. Well, how could you tell me what my own thing means?
But if it's a symbol that's been established, if I wear a cross, I can say I'm a Jew. I'm wearing a cross.
It's like kafir, everybody knows what kafir is, right? So the bloody hands.
Yeah.
What happened in Ramallah a few years ago when a few Palestinians caught 2 Israeli soldiers and lynched them to death with stones by their hands and then showed it to the whole world, and the picture
proudly.
Bloody hands.
So how do you define what it means when we're the ones doing it?
Symbol that,
According to who?
Not according to
But it's not though. If all of us who are doing it say that that's not what it is.
No, because you don't even know the facts. Sorry,
if it were a swastika, I say it doesn't represent Nazism. But
what's your name?
Mike.
Mike?
No, we'll end in like 5 minutes.
Mike.
Hello. Oh, yeah.
The thing is, once they lynched it, and they did like this to the window, proudly, then it became a national symbol.
Okay, I'll look into it. All right.
If you are endorsing it,
everyone I've seen doing it, there's people say, "Why do you do it?" And they say, "Because we're American taxpayers, have blood on our hands as American taxpayers." That's the reason everyone's given for doing it.
So
that I've ever talked to and seen.
So, it's like
all right.
okay. And maneuver it.
But the way a symbol is defined, however it's used by the most people who use it. So most people who use it, I don't think are doing that. Most people who use a swastika are using it to support Nazi ideology. All right. So that's why it's defined like that. I don't think
these bloody hands are for support killing Jews.
No, it's not. No.
It is. You need to check the facts.
No,
it is.
Well, check the facts. Well, what are the facts? What I'm saying is the facts that I've seen are the most people. Everyone I've ever seen who has this says we're American taxpayers.
You need to check your sources.
I actually go to these rallies, and this is what people do at the rallies.
There is one thing that
it's just like this. Like you're telling us what this means here. From the river to the sea, it means everyone has a right to return and vote.
What does it mean?
They have a right to return and vote from the river to the sea. It doesn't nothing about killing anyone.
No,
nobody here supports killing anyone.
When I've talked to Palestinians, what they say from the river to the sea means from the river to the sea, it's one state for both Jews and Arabs.
Your anecdote does not negate the fact that Poles
do not show skill. Polls do not show that most Palestinians want Jews expelled from the land.
There was an AP poll from a few weeks ago that showed that 80% of Palestinians support Hamas. Your anecdote of you meeting some Palestinians in the West Bank, it's an anecdote.
It's reality. Majority of Palestinians aren't inherently evil. They don't want to kill Jews.
So your anecdote is more strong than polls, multiple independent polls.
Most Palestinians in Gaza before October 7th did not like Hamas. Only
they what group they like the Islamic Jihad.
No, they didn't.
As bad as Hamas.
Oh, I'm sorry. They did not.
So who do they support?
You've been in Gaza?
Who do they support?
Have you been in Gaza?
I can't go to Gaza.
Human rights are not based on.
How do you know whether it's legal?
Yeah, I have. I've been to Ramallah and Bethlehem.
You went to settlements. You didn't go to.
No, I went to Bethlehem and Ramallah. You want to see the videos on my phone?
Sure. What Palestinians?
I went to the Palestinian.
They threw rocks on our windows.
It was the Palestinian. By both Israelis and Palestinians. So yeah, the mayor showed us. I got watched on the video short.
Listen, I think that even if it's
But you know what is the difference? When an Israeli guy do this to some Palestinian, he goes to jail. And when a Palestinian it is true, this is the law. This is the law. This is the law.
They are being arrested. Israeli soldiers doesn't to right.
It's not about Israeli soldiers. It's about citizens. You can't do this stuff in Israel. It's not allowed. It's about the law. You can't do nothing. Yes.
מיכל, שלא יעמדו אותו שהוא נכנס לאוהל עכשיו עם הכפייה? שלא יעמדו אותו עכשיו שהוא נכנס לאוהל עם הכפייה?
אף אחד לא יגע. בחירה שלו כפרה. אף אחד לא יגע. לא יגיעו להיכנס שלו.
לא, כי הוא רוצה לקחת משהו.
Hamas does not represent an Arab. No, I didn't say they did not represent me. I said that I'm not the government. I'm not making the decision. I'm not the one who's in charge. And so that's why I'm not going into political fights. But I know the law. The law in Israel is when you do something to Palestinians, you go to a jail. You know what is on the other side? When you do something bad to a Jew, like killing Jews, going roasting Jews, you know what you're doing? What they're doing to you? They are praising you. They're applause to you for being anti-Semitic. They're applause to you. In Israel, you can't do this. It's in the law.
Can I give an example?
You can't do this.
So I know Bill hates my my examples and anecdotes, but if you guys remember, last summer there was a village in Palestine called Hawara, right? That was burned down because there was Hawara, and it was completely burned down.
And what did the Israeli public do right away? They donated 500,000 shekels to those villages.
Was anyone arrested?
Was anyone arrested?
Yes.
No one was arrested. No one was arrested.
Prove it.
I know. I researched this, Gil. No one was arrested.
You are very naive.
Not a single settler was arrested for that.
Maybe not sellers, but people that involved. Did they get investigation? Was there investigation?
That's fine.
There was an investigation, right?
Yeah.
Let's take the temperature down a little bit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Stop telling him that like this is a productive discourse. He's not naive because
For him to use a few anecdotes of him going to the West Bank and saying most Palestinians don't support Hamas. There's so many independent polls that show that they support Hamas or other Islamic jihadist groups. They do not. They want to kill Jews.
I'll take your word for it, but I'm saying it's a productive conversation.
Sure. I won't. So who do they support?
You've been in Gaza?
Who do they support?
Have you been in Gaza?
I can't go to Gaza.
Human rights are not based on.
How do you know whether it's legal?
Yeah, I have. I've been to Ramallah and Bethlehem.
You went to settlements. You didn't go to.
No, I went to Bethlehem and Ramallah. You want to see the videos on my phone?
Sure. What Palestinians?
I went to the Palestinian.
They threw rocks on our windows.
It was a Palestinian by both Israelis and Palestinians. So yeah, the mayor showed him. I got watched on the really short.
Listen, I think that even if there are many Israeli people
But you know what is the difference? When an Israeli guy do this to some Palestinian, he goes to jail. And when a Palestinian it is true. This is the law. This is the law. This is the law. They are being arrested. Israeli soldiers. Right. It's not about Israeli soldiers. It's about citizens. You can't do this stuff in Israel. It's not allowed. It's about the law. You can't do nothing. Yes.
מיכל, שלא יעמדו אותו שהוא נכנס לאוהל עכשיו עם הגבייה. שלא יעמדו אותו עכשיו שהוא נכנס לאוהל עם הגבייה.
בחירה שלו כפרה.
אף אחד לא יגע בו, לא יגיעו להיכנס שלו.
לא, כי הוא רוצה לקחת משהו.
Hamas does not represent an Arab.
No, I didn't say it did not represent me. I said that I'm not the government. I'm not making the decision. I'm not the one who's in charge. So that's why I'm not going into political fights. But I know the law. The law in Israel is when you do something to Palestinians, you go to a jail. You know what is on the other side? When you do something bad to a Jew, like killing Jews, going roasting Jews, you know what you're doing? What they're doing to you? They are praising you. They're applause to you for being anti-Semitic. They're applause to you. In Israel, you can't do this. It's in the law.
Can I give an example?
You can't do this.
So I know Bill hates my my examples and anecdotes, but if you guys remember, last summer there was a village in Palestine called Hawara, right? That was burned down because there was Hawara, and it was completely burned down.
And what did the Israeli public do right away? They donated 500,000 shekels to those villages.
Was anyone arrested?
The Israelis.
Yes. No one was arrested. No one was arrested.
Prove it.
I know. I researched this, Gil. No one was arrested.
You are very naive.
Not a single settler was arrested for that.
Maybe not sellers, but people that involved. Did they get investigation? Was there investigation? Was there investigation?
That's fine.
There was an investigation, right?
Yeah. Let's take the temperature down a little bit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Stop telling him that like this is a productive discourse. He's not naive because
For him to use a few anecdotes of him going to the West Bank and saying most Palestinians don't support Hamas. There's so many independent polls that show that they support Hamas or other Islamic jihadist groups. They do not. They want to kill Jews.
I'll take your word for it, but I'm saying it's a productive conversation.
Sure. I won't. That's where you're getting offended.
We're all gonna wrap up soon. So
Just a minute. There was something very important. putting aside the Israeli government, as the Israeli wants to live quiet and simple life in Israel, as do the Palestinians. Okay? The reason why there are not two separate entities, two states, is because of Hamas. Hamas is like you say free Palestine, we agree. It's free Palestine from Hamas. Okay? We agree on that. This is the most important issue that you need to understand, because only this kind of monstrous behavior, where they are also killing Palestinians, okay, and I can't say if they are proud of it or not, but they have no shame about this. So once Hamas is gone, this whole discussion will be different. Okay?
But what I would say, before Hamas existed, we were still having very similar conversations.
You didn't exist. It's an endless conflict. Listen, it's an endless conflict.
I was going through that
okay?
for 3 years.
Who was here first? Okay? But I think that now the issue is, do we let Hamas win? Because
I would love to respond.
Sure, this is the last comment that we have to finish. Yeah.
It was really awful for Hamas to attack civilians. However, whatever you think the number is, a large number of civilians. I think all sources can agree that Israel has killed a much larger number of civilians. You have a famine happening.
Israel didn't kill any civilians. Israel would never enter a house with kids, with elderly, with women, take them out of their bed in pajamas. Okay? Either in November. Okay? Okay.
This is our last comment, yeah.
All right. So, Israel has killed a much larger number of people. They've destroyed all of Gaza. They've created a Palestine. And that's so my analysis that when you kill a large number of innocent civilians, then there exists. So this won't be solved if Israel doesn't exist. Let me finish. But you know what? I don't live there. I don't help there. It's not up to me to say what the governmental arrangements should do. So all I'm doing as a human being, I'm going to support human rights. Say we can't stop people from returning and voting because they're.
If you support, just a second. If you support human rights, listen. If you support human rights, then please explain to me how Hamas can do. How can Hamas, if you support human rights, how can Hamas continue their war from hospitals?
It's not a debate if you don't let somebody finish with this.
You get the last word, let me finish, then you have the last word.
So I don't base my belief in human rights on what a poll says or how many people are going to vote for this party or that party. Right? People have a right to vote. They have a right to return. Refugees of war have a right to return. And you can't treat people differently because they're different religion or ethnicity. That's not equal rights. All right. So Palestinians have a right to return and vote. And if they want to vote to turn Israel into Palestine, that's what happens. That's how democracy works.
Okay, sorry. I'll leave you with something to think about. Okay, till next time. Yeah? Tell me, how can this happen when you have Hamas in charge? That's it.
We're going to take a little break, guys. All right.
It was nice to meet all of you. We really appreciate y'all for coming. Thank you. And it helps to have this productive conversation even if we don't agree. Thank you.
You guys are so sweet. All right. Thank y'all. All right, we're going to take a little break. Good to meet you. What's your name? Mike? Do you have Instagram or something? Yeah? We'll call you on Instagram. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you for coming. I know it's hard when, like, the numbers are stacked against you a little bit. It takes a lot of courage, you know?
Well, I haven't heard all the talking points.
Sure.
I run the class, but thank you very much. I'll reach back out to you.
Signal, and that is like is like, if your reason isn't wise, then I don't care. Like,
and also, like, I'm against like nationalism in general, right? Like, I don't care if it's Jewish nationalism, if it's Palestinian nationalism. Like, I understand the struggle, but like when it starts to become like we're the only ones, like that's where I'm like.
The basis of my take.
Any opinion's welcome. 100%. Yeah, any opinion at all. Yeah.
I'm trying to know my opinions because I have, of course, my own opinions, but I just want to hear from other people.
From both sides. Yeah.
I also know that
there's no good food here.
There's no
each
matter.
Like what do you mean? There's not even any
Each side is going to be biased to make the other side look way better than it probably is. And I recognize that. So I like hearing different opinions so that I can I can get my own middle ground.
Sure, of course.
Because,
Understand, the people who are involved typically don't have the more extreme opinions. Typically it's outside actors who have like these extreme opinions. So when you're able to interact with people who are like directly impacted, I think that's the best way.
That's exactly like I want to hear from people. I want to hear from people who have family in Palestine.
You're Israeli, 100%. Yeah.
100%. So I just want to hear like where everyone's personally coming from, because then I feel like
100%. Hi there. What's your name? Ori. My name's Elijah. Nice to meet you. You're Israeli?
I'm not Israeli.
Really? Ori's a very
Israeli name. I know.
Shem Shel, bro. It's very Israeli. But yeah, nice to meet you.
It means like light.
My light, exactly. Yeah. אתה יכול לדבר עברית או לא? Jeez. ערבי? 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 Sorry, I should be introducing more people. I apologize. No, but I think you have the right mentality for sure. It means a lot that there's people like this existing in the Jewish community, especially. It warms my heart. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
So what brings y'all to the table? You guys got it.
I'm just curious.
He's the Palestinian. I'm the Jew who's supposed to be representing all this. Yeah.
He's representing the pro-Palestine side, or
he's just a Palestinian who's talking. Yeah, we don't represent any official narrative. We're just here to talk. Just be a Jew and a Palestinian.
But yeah, I'm just here, just curious about the different protests and to hear what people are saying.
Yeah, I would say this is like the most divisive time on campus this year, especially. So PSC's over there; they're championing many things, right? They're championing. It seems like from ceasefire to calling Israel an apartheid state to calling out IBP for cultural appropriation of Palestinian cuisine. They're hitting all these different issues. Genocide, all the above. Ethnic cleansing, all the above. This is what they're calling for. And IBP is just there to be a festival for Israel, basically. But I will say, right, like I've been to IBP like once in the past. Someone forced me in, and I will say, right, to me it didn't even represent Israeli culture really well. And the example I'll give is food. So typically Israeli cuisine is like syncretic, right? It's all over the Jewish diaspora. You have schnitzel, you have shawarma, you have got falafel, you got all this. When I went inside, it was only Middle Eastern food. I'm like, this isn't really representing the expression of Judaism that's present in Israel. It's people coming from all over. And so to me, that gives credence to the Palestinian argument that they're just incorporating Palestinian food and using that as their cuisine. So there's stuff in that I'm like 100%. Like that's very clear to me. And I think they're doing a disservice to themselves by doing stuff like that.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is the origin of falafel? Like, it isn't.
It's not Palestinian. It's Syrian. It's Syrian. Yeah, it's close. It's
right. I mean, it's not Jewish for sure.
It's not Jewish.
It's also not Palestinian.
Yeah, Palestinians eat it, but like it's not exclusively theirs. Yeah, 100%.
You guys see a distinction between considering Israel the Jewish country and the home for the Jews?
Interesting.
Meaning like this is meant to be a country like based on Judaism. We prefer it for the Jews to be here, etc. Or based on like historical context, we know that Jews have been persecuted throughout history. They need a country to live in.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you're articulating two of the earliest debates in Zionism between cultural Zionism and political Zionism. Theodore Herzl, the founder of the modern Israeli state, said we need a demographic majority in the state to be able to protect ourselves, security. Ahad Ha'am articulates something called cultural Zionism. He said it would be great for Jews to be able to live in the land and for the state or the land to have a Jewish identity and Jewish cultural practice, but it doesn't have to be through a state, right? It can just be we're there in the land, we can have and express our identity, and it's the homeland for that identity, but it doesn't have to come at the expense of anyone else. It doesn't have to be
through a state. It doesn't have to be called Israel. We could just be within Palestine, and Palestine has Jewish expression. So these are two of the earliest expressions for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that one makes more
I'm more of a
sense?
cultural Zionist. I think it's less abrasive to the Palestinian minority, or the Palestinian population. Now they're a minority, but back then they were not a minority. So yeah, I would fall under a hot on.
Less abrasive
because they don't need a demographic majority to achieve their aims. The fact that Zionism needed that 50% plus majority came at the expense of Palestinians, right, during 1948. And so I find that founding sin of Israel to be very problematic. And I don't think that would have been a problematic issue if other routes were taken, if that makes sense.
Okay, what do you think was the founding sin?
The founding sin was the expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians from what is now Israel.
Really? Isn't that like false history? I thought that's what I heard. That's really not true.
So
the majority of the original settlers who came bought land in like
that is very true. A lot of them did, yeah. So my fourth great grandfather was part of the first Aliyah. He bought land in what is Rishon LeZion, one of the first settlements for Jews to live in the land. And they bought land. You're completely right. But in 1948 specifically, right, when there was the partition plan, Ben Gurion had a direct plan essentially to expel around 750,000, something is closer to 800,000 to get that majority. So you're right. Up until 1887, till around 1948, it was land purchases. They weren't expelling people from the land.
I did see. I haven't heard that.
Kind of what?
Yeah. So most of them were actually expelled before the 6 Arab armies invaded. They were actually expelled in the first. There were 2 halves of the war, and basically there's a lot of Israeli historians who talk about this. Benny Morris, Ilan Pape, they're all Israeli and they talk about this. So in the first leg of the war is when the majority of the refugees were kicked out. It was the Arab armies who were actually coming in for either to prevent the mass expulsion of Palestinian refugees as they don't want Palestinians in their state,
Are you
or
Marwan?
for
What's your name?
Sophia.
Sophia, are you in
Atidna?
Are you in it?
They weren't good actors.
No, I'm not.
You're just like
Yeah,
over here.
I met him at Hillel.
So Benny Morris and Pape are very different.
I think he started.
I
So
think
Benny
he,
Morris
yeah,
is actually
because
very
he reached
led
out
by
to me,
Atidna.
and like a lot of other people from Hillel.
Right,
Like,
the reason.
I'm doing this, and I would really like, people to have
Sure,
like,
the post-Zionist movement. You're correct.
and I couldn't make it. I was like figuring a lot out, like in my own like personal life or whatever, and so I couldn't like make it. But I had a lot.
I wouldn't say it's
of,
revising history. I would say
I had a
Israel
lot
has
of
an
thoughts
archive,
about,
and this is very good. That allows archives to be released after every 50 years. And the fact
I
that
was about to ask you. Yeah, I was about to follow up. Like, what were you thinking about that?
So that's the only
Whole
thing.
exchange.
So about this
Everything, like everything going on. What were you thinking about?
Wait, can we
I
can I just
think
point
right
out
now,
the,
just
like,
with this
that's
event
all you need to know about the people right there.
specifically
Her back
that's
says
going on,
dogs
to
over
me.
people. She doesn't care about people.
It's a
So that's why she's
I am a dog person, so I mean, I'm just kidding.
Puppies.
to me it was a really
Sure, yeah.
And that's what I was talking to him about. Like I want to have a more open discussion with everybody from different backgrounds because I know that whatever
The reason he says that is because
news I'm
Palestinian
getting,
history was never
especially
written
if
down.
it's from
It's always
social
been oral
media, is
history.
going to be
Right, so that's why he's relying a lot on oral history. So that's why he's making that claim. Because a
any
lot of the
argument is
Palestinian
going to
experience
make
he's
the
writing
other
about,
side look like
he's not
the
written down
complete.
in
There it is, and that's what I was trying to explain to her. And
But
she
there's no
was
other way
like,
to approach it, sadly, in this
the
situation.
girl, when she was like, "Oh, we don't, our news isn't biased." I was like, "Don't
No, it
literally
is.
have textbooks that y'all teach the elementary school system." Like, and then she goes, "Well, y'all teach them to kill Jews." I was like, "I don't teach them anything. I'm trying to explain to you that both sides have their flaws."
And
I also
he's a Zionist.
Like ultimately abuse to propaganda.
Yeah,
insane. It is crazy. Every country,
But he didn't take back his
regardless if you even think
He's
how
claimed that
democratic the U.S. is going to have, you know, it's going to other any outside country.
in the United States, there's an entire
So
governmental
what Benny Morris
legislative
said is everything they wrote
system.
about
The CIA is dedicated to propaganda.
But the result is different in my mind. He said originally it was bad, right? He said it's a sin. These expulsions were horrible. But after the Second Intifada, he changed tune. He said, you know what? No, they were good. We should have actually done more of that, right? So he's keeping the facts the same, but the conclusion he's drawing is different.
I think the facts are wrong to begin with. We should have revised them.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I have many Palestinian friends who hail from Ramleh, who hail from Lid, and they've talked about the experiences that only were written down with Benny Morris. And so, from their own oral history and something that was verified through
Israeli archival materials, I think it's very, very powerful, and I think it is factual.
I don't know. I'm so confused about the expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians. I don't know. I haven't heard that.
So
my understanding of history is that's a fact.
Yeah.
So
it's just like refugees.
Many of them were allowed to come back. I thought they ran away. I thought they ran away when the Jews came because they didn't want to live.
Not when the Jews came. So basically, what happened was there was a select amount of massacres in the land, right? Deir Yassin, Ramle, Lid, and what the Haganah, Lehi, and Urgun did is they handed out leaflets, basically saying this is going to happen to you if you don't flee very quickly, right? And there was some impetus by Arab governors to say, like, look, if we're going to come in, we're going to crush the Jews, right? So leave, and you can return, right? So there's all these different variables coming together to tell Palestinians to leave, right? And so a lot of them left because of either direct force, right, in Ramle and Lid and Deir Yassin, or because of social forces, either by Israelis or other Arabs telling them to leave. Yeah.
Okay. But it was in like a war context where there were people that were attacked. Well, not war context, but it was in a violent context where there were people who were attacking the people who were
post-partition was very violent.
And so the violent ones were forced to move, and then people who supported the violence were forced to move, and then there were probably some people who were expelled unjustly.
There was a good amount that were expelled unjustly. Yeah.
There's a good Israeli historical fiction novel about this, written in 1949 called Khirbet Chizeh. It's translated in English. It's by a guy named S.E.R. And he's like really writes sort of about his and his contemporaries' experience of the 1948 war. And like sort of they evict a fictional Palestinian village, and like all kids in Israel used to have to like read this.
Country, whatever it is, for sure.
I don't know if you've read that.
I have read it. It's a good read. It's a good read. I would read it actually in pair with a book by Hassan Kanafani called Return to Haifa. I always like to read two books complementary to each other.
I've never read that one.
It's very interesting.
Return to Haifa.
Return to Haifa by Hassan Kanafani, and basically it's also a historical fiction novel, and this is why I point this out. But it's through the perspective of a Jewish family who adopts a Palestinian child who was left during the war. His parents fled, and his child was left, and he was raised to be Jewish. And the parents go and return to get the child. And the whole premise of the book is basically the family trying to return to Haifa because that's where they were expelled from. So I think these would be two great books. Yeah.
When was it written?
In the 70s, I think. Yeah, in the 70s. Yeah.
One thing I want to challenge you on is
Sure.
why do you accept the idea of cultural heritage?
Cultural heritage.
I think the whole idea is corrupt. The whole idea
It sounds like they don't care
cultural
about
appropriation
us.
is corrupt.
Sure.
And they
I don't say necessary. So I would say. So you.
Just so I understand.
Yeah.
What would you define cultural?
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Sorry?
What would you define cultural heritage as?
Why are you adding?
I don't think such thing exists. Cultures can't own anything. People.
Got you. People own stuff. So that's what you're saying. Yes. Got you. So I would say the culture in this case is unique because it's an extension of the people that were expelled from that land 2,000 years ago, right? Their entire culture was based on that land, and our whole entire yearning was to return that, right? Every year we say next year, right? It's our basic premise that we pass on to every generation to return to that land. It's part of our culture, but it's part of our identity, it's part of our bloodline, right? And so these are all very overlapping variables. So in my opinion, I love the fact that Jewish people return to our ancestral homeland, and I view that as part of the cultural expression, right? But you have to make the distinction with the state, right? And that's where I'm making the distinction between the state and our identity as a people.
I think that's the big flaw of Israel. Like,
I don't know.
I'm very much pro-Israel side, but Israel's religion and culture is really
but for you to represent us with an entire
they have a right to their culture that we
it is that
it gives all Palestinians the weapons to fight back and to claim and validate.
Yeah, exactly. And the other aspect is
Israelis don't have any more rights than anyone else. They have only individual rights. The right to water, white land,
and you can't say it, but like
if you buy into this idea that Jews have a magical connection
like they were shouting at us, they were upset, like
I would argue a third narrative in all this, but you can respond to the second side.
And no matter if we said the source, it didn't matter to them. It wasn't true. It's a lie. People are lying.
It didn't matter if you like pulled up a witness from the ground.
So like I have a problem, and I told the guy that was calling him naive. I was like, you can't be
living wherever they're living because that's where they were born and that's where they're cheap real estate.
But I will say for the Jewish people as a whole, as a collective, the argument isn't necessarily like, oh, God gave us this land. It's that this is the land of my ancestors that I want to return to.
So I really like Zionism because the way Herzl viewed it, he didn't care about Israel. He wanted to
he didn't give
settlement South America.
He thought it would be a German-speaking state. He really didn't give a crap about Judaism. Let me be honest with you.
So I think that the movement itself is really great, and obviously there are some people who are like religious, and maybe there's some people who are racist in there, but it's a minority. But I think the issue is if you're in discussions, accept the then you will lose against those things. There's no way to hold this premise and defend yourself.
Right.
But
or unless we also accept the Palestinian.
It's any argument. That's what I was about to say. So when you look at both
Which
people's,
is your whole thing.
That's my whole thing. So if you look at both people's narratives, when Jews and Zionists particularly speak about Palestinians, what do we say? We say Palestinians, you're Arabs, right? You have no connection to this land. Your ancestors hail from Saudi Arabia. Go back to Saudi Arabia. Palestinians will do the same thing. They say you're Jewish, right? You're just a religion. Your ancestors are Ashkenazi. You hail from Europe. Go back to Europe. It's this neck and neck debate trying to say, oh, you don't belong to the land. But in reality, both our peoples hail from this land. Our cultures are more similar because we hail from this land. And so when you can make this argument that our cultures are related through this connection, that's when the change begins to happen. This is when you break down all the animosity.
This thinking is exactly how it started, because the Israeli government was like, oh yeah, at least Hamas, they're religious, so they're going to be nice, so we fund them.
Sure.
And now they've kicked them in the ass. So thinking that religion and
I wouldn't say it's any religion. I would say this is completely secular history.
But thinking about collectives as such is making your case so difficult and impossible to defend.
I would say the only reason we have to think of collectives is because of post-48. I think that's the way both groups have oriented each other in such a nationalistic fashion. We have to think of each other in terms of collectives. There's no return from that. I think it has to be done.
I mean, that's been done for the last decades, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You're right. I'm against nationalism. I'm 100% against nationalism.
I think that like
I'm gonna have to run. This is a beautiful conversation.
Thinking about like where your like ancestors lived.
Yeah.
Thinking about like where your ancestors lived like 2,000 years ago to me is just irrational. Like I don't care where my ancestors lived thousands of years ago. I just care about where's the best place for me to live today.
Sure. But I would say it's not even just where your ancestors lived. It's that we've continually passed down to every generation a yearning to return to this land, right? Passover is coming up. What do we say every Passover? Next year in Jerusalem. It's the phrase that we pass down to every generation to say we were expelled from this land 2,000 years ago by the Romans, and we will rectify this wrong. Oh, sorry, I thought they were yelling at me. But it's part of our identity. That land is part of our identity. But what I don't think is necessarily part of our identity is the state apparatus that we've currently manifested. That's very harmful, I would say, to both Jews and Arabs in the land. And so I think for our identity as a Jewish people to be expressed, we need to be in the land, right? For our culture to be expressed, we need to be in the land. For our identity to be expressed, we need to be in the land. But it doesn't have to be through the current manifestation, right? There can be something that's more equitable, something that works better for both people. That's my basic premise.
I think government is good.
My man! How we doing? Mira! Oh my gosh, wait, I gotta give you a hug.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I guess it's a hard argument to make when like we just don't believe in the premises of religion, period. So like he's always gonna have like a reason based on like historical religion.
I'm not Elijah, but is it cool if I weigh in? For what it's worth, it's not just a religious thing. Judaism isn't just a religion. It's also, more than anything, it's a culture. There's a lot of atheist Jews and secular Jews and just Jews who maybe even just biological Jews who just who still empathize, who still feel a connection with the land in some way. When we say we used to live in Israel, we're not talking as the land, not as the state apparatus. That's not just us going, oh, because the book from the man in the sky said so. That's like coming from actual archaeology and genetics and history. And if that, again, I don't support Zionism as like a settler colonialist movement, but even Zionism was a secular movement. It was explicitly not religious. In fact, a lot of religious Jews hated it because it was mostly atheists who were trying to bring back Judaism as not just a religious identity, but as a cultural and national identity. And when I say nationality, I mean like I'm Mexican American. That's my nationality, as a like your ethnicity, not as your nationality. People think of it as like membership in a state. It's really like
the religious aspect adds to the issue, but the main issue is that it's a collectivist idea of thinking. They think of yourself as part of a collective, part of a group, not as an individual. And that makes the conflict so difficult to solve if you think this way.
Yeah.
You can't think of yourself as part of a member of a group that's just...
But the entire identity of the Jewish people is a collective identity. Israel, right? The
yes,
nation.
That's what's wrong about it. That's
interesting. So you have an issue with Judaism, not even Zionism. You have an issue specifically with the Jewish identity.
I mean, I think all collectives are really stupid, and people should think of themselves as individuals.
Got you. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, like, I don't think if you have some kind of like cultural heritage and influences the way you live your life, if it's not like something crazy, you can still have some kind of connection.
No, it's fine to have like rituals and stuff. But you know, I do some Christian rituals, but I don't think of myself as a Christian.
Sure.
Like, there's some things that happen to do, and they're kind of fun, and I do things that are fun, and I don't do things that are not fun.
But you can even feel some kind of connection to other people who do those kind of practices without it being collectivism. I don't think. I mean, I think it's
sure, but he's saying that it's not.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I'm not saying...
I'm saying both people's inherently in this situation have the collectivist identity. It's impossible to remove it from them. Both Jews and Palestinians are inherently a collective people. We view ourselves as one nation, for better or for worse, and it's how it is.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, you think it's possible to like have an individualistic notion of identity in this situation?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's difficult to get rid of the collectivism, of course.
Interesting.
But it's necessary.
I would say pre-48, Palestinians were closer than Jews to an individualist identity, but for the sole reason that Palestinian identity, in a national sense, is more reactionary to Zionism. Historically, Palestinians define themselves before Palestinian as, oh, I'm from Nablus, oh, I'm from Haifa, based on the city, based on the village, right?
They were still tribes.
It's still tribal, but it's not as wide of a collectivist identity, right? So yeah.
Not much better.
But yeah, it's not much better, but it is a distinction.
If you think just a family as a tribe, that's wrong.
Sure.
Like
so, yeah.
Even tribe of two people.
So just like hyper egalitarian, everyone is equal.
I mean, it's not egalitarian, but individualistic. Yeah.
Individualistic.
Hyper
interesting. Interesting perspective.
Interesting.
Never had anyone argue this to me before. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Okay, so but how would you differentiate between, so take like an American identity where you feel like a sense of like admiration for the founding fathers and freedom in America, and you feel like there's a group of people who think like you that you want to be a part of.
Is the thinking first or the acceptance first? If you think, okay, what are good values, what do I like, and then it turns out the US is a great country, then sure, you can celebrate those things.
Yeah.
But if it's like American first, and then, oh, I happen to like all of those things, that's the wrong way around. And the way that people do it in religion is like, I'm born Jewish, and then, oh, yeah, I like most things, so keep it around, so that's just the wrong way to do it.
Yeah. But for us, actually, I would say Judaism, for most Jews, isn't religious. Like, I know it's a hot take. Yeah, but for most of us, it's more in the sense closer to a tribal identity.
I know. To be fair, like, I think Jewish culture has really good things about it, as better than many other cultures.
Sure.
But viewing yourself as part of a group, that's the big issue.
That's the big issue for you, yeah.
Accept all of the things you want from the culture, if you want to, but viewing yourself as part of your identity, that's dangerous.
Just personally, you don't think there's any like healthy way to go about seeing yourself as part of a group? Like, what if?
I think he said that there is.
Say my thing is
if it's
like
based on your rational conclusion that the like, values that this like group represents are something that you have concluded are good for you.
Like my thing is like I see myself as Jewish, but I don't base my ethics off of my Judaism. I identify with Judaism because
this could be in the shade.
And there are some things where I'm like, Judaism is kind of dumb about this. Like I don't eat kosher because I think that's kind of silly.
Some of it's silly.
So like sometimes I don't believe in God. I flip flop on that, but sometimes I don't, and that's perfectly valid. But my point is I identify with my Jewish identity first, but I don't value Jews over other groups, and I don't believe in a certain framework. I don't believe in a frame. I don't go, I'm Jewish, so I have to believe this.
So this is what I think. I think that if there's aspects of Jewish culture that emphasize like education and certain other positive things that we like about Jewish culture. If that's what people like about Jewish culture and it gives them a sense of wanting to be part of this culture and maintain this Jewish identity, I agree with that. But I think things like thinking that some Jews lived in this piece of land 2,000 years ago, that to me is an example of an irrational reason to be considering yourself as part of a group or like having some kind of identity.
If we displaced a Native American tribe off their ancestral land here in America and they pass down to every generation, we want to return to that land. Would you think that's irrational or just part of their culture?
Yes, irrational.
Interesting.
I don't care about what my ancestors did thousands of years ago. I just care about like what's
because it's irrational.
So
it does. In my opinion,
you can, but
so would you say Palestinians are irrational for wanting to return to their ancestral land from 74 years ago? Would you say that's irrational?
Yes, I think you need to decide like what each individual needs to decide what's best for their life. Like, okay, I want to go to medical school. I need to like live in like a certain state where I can go pursue that, and then I want to set up a practice because I really want to practice medicine. Where's the best state for me to do that? It's not. I don't care about what I'm doing in my own life, my own values, my own choices, my own trajectory don't matter. I just need to think of what some person like who's related to me who lived 2,000 years ago, where they live. That's what I should. That's how I should like make my choice.
Interesting. What about if your identity is forced upon you? Like, what if as a Jewish person, I can go, I don't care about Israel. I don't care about any of this. I just want to go wherever. But what if I'm not talking Israel. That was just an example. But even as a Jew, I can say, well, what's best for me is to live in this country or this country and do this thing in this thing, regardless of my identity as a Jew. But what if other people see me as a Jew, and that puts limitations on me, and that affects how I live? Then I see a membership in that community because I acknowledge that there's shared
So
suffering.
I would say that's a rational reason for wanting to live in Israel, is because you recognize that many people in the world are anti-Semitic and it's dangerous to live in other places potentially. And so Jews need to have a state where they can be protected and be safe. That's a rational reason for deciding to live in Israel. But just thinking, oh, my ancestors 2,000 years ago trade in this land, therefore I should live there. That's an irrational reason.
I totally see where you're coming from. I can say, personally, I align with that more. I don't really, to be very, very blunt, I don't give a shit about my ancestral roots in Israel.
Really?
I don't. But
I care very deeply about it. So
but I recognize that for many people, Palestinians and Jews, land and ancestral roots mean so much.
And they're
not just land as a commodity. Not just land as, oh, this is a place where we live.
And I think the
but
sooner people let go of that, the sooner.
I personally am. If you look at Jazz Kafia, see how it has like the fishnets and all these different symbols? It's based on the land. Their identity is so entrenched with the land. You can't separate these people from it. It's impossible.
Yeah, but this is how Europe used to be. That's why Europe was a bloodshed for thousands of years. And then in Enlightenment we learned to give up those stupid values because they're rational and make no sense.
Here's the thing though, we can argue about rational, irrational, and what you guys
It's almost synonymous.
It doesn't change the fact that it doesn't matter what is rational, what is irrational.
Maybe we're rational people.
Prime Minister
already there and already in the conflict.
Of Israel, and that's not what
I don't know, that doesn't make sense.
Exactly this kind of thinking.
Okay, so use that kind of logic.
The reason the conflict still continues.
So you have to develop a solution that works with what already is given.
Yeah.
Because you can't just, right now, how it is, it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible.
But if you reject the solution, you can't solve it.
Let's move to a different issue for a second. Like, so take for example,
it's not that people be irrational.
Think about like
to challenge them.
Like talking about like slave owners like 200 years ago.
Sure.
You could. I'm claiming that slavery is irrational. It's irrational to have unpaid labor.
Sure.
It's horrible for them. It's immoral. It's not even good for the slave owners. They're not nearly as productive as people after slavery was abolished.
Sure.
So it's irrational. And you could say, well, it doesn't matter what's rational or irrational. People have slaves as part of their identity. So we have to deal with the reality now. And what's the best way to treat slaves? And I'm saying no. The whole practice, the whole way of thinking is immoral. It needs to be abolished.
We're not saying that we should keep the status quo because it doesn't matter what's rational or what's irrational as a guide in order to see what is better in order for society and peace. What I'm saying is that within the framework there can be an idealized goal.
It was like
350
over here.
Best to work within the system already and try to either break it down to something else, reshape it. That's going to be extremely difficult. It's a lot easier to break down stuff.
Inviting people to have civil conversations.
But that's been tried for 70 years and it doesn't work. It ends in bloodshed every single time.
No,
the thing is, both cultures cling to the same irrational things and don't let go of it. There's no way. There's nothing you can reshape. There's nothing you can do. There's just nothing. The definition is missing. You need to add the solution.
So there's the other solution, which is breakdown of the current system in which we try to establish a new one. That's been done plenty of times in history, and it's extremely difficult.
But the system was good how it was, and it's been destroyed because you're not given international people.
Good for... Okay, perfect. Be more specific on how it's good, because I don't want to...
Founding Israel was a good thing for everyone involved.
The modern state of Israel.
It depends on who you're from, what your community is.
It may be... Okay, from my research, my studying, because I had to do so much stupid...
Like, I don't want to have it.
Yeah.
Who you're from, what your
So it may be okay from my research, my studying, because I had to do so much stupid.
Like, I don't want to have it.
Can we get a photo? I want to get a photo of y'all.
So like there's always
it was already kind of being getting back in order for the Palestinians. We're talking about perspective Palestinians just yet because there's other
I have a picky mom.
Like having a lot of year.
Oh my God, Elijah!
Purchase your land and then tell you that hey, we don't need you anymore, and then having that in mass exodus and you start seeing a system pattern with that. I don't think that was good for everybody involved. Obviously, new people came in, so there's only so many limited supplies. Land is limited, food is limited, water is limited. Only a certain amount of people can have that priority over that. So it just happened to be that the Jews.
It's not limited. It just needs to be created, and Israel created all of those resources. I mean, I think it's so easy. Like if you just look at all of the Middle East, like all of the cultures are very similar, and they're all really, really poor and suppressed. And Israel is the exception, which is really rich. And what's the difference? They also started in a desert and created all of the resources.
I can very much argue against that because a lot of that was due to European and American intervention. And before, it was actually more. It was on the okay, prosperous side because Ottoman Empire was already a thing. And even before then, it was actually a lot more prosperous than Europe.
It used to be prosperous in the 15th century. When they accepted peace and then went back to religion.
It's not an open business. They're surrounding it. They have an entire blockade of air, water, everything.
That doesn't make it an open 200 aid trucks. No, it doesn't. 200. No, they can't.
What do you define a blockade as?
What about all the other aid trucks that got blocked?
No, not 500. Obviously this year more than
500 was at the start.
That's fantastic. There's still 1.5 million people stuck.
To the Middle East that lack a lot. The Middle East had their oil drilled and founded and then drilled by either British or American companies and then through legal means took it back, and that's why. So the thing is, it's not, from what I'm seeing, I don't see morality as a progenitor of this stuff. I see circumstance and a lot of economic incentive.